Hello and welcome back to Blood and Ashes. This is episode 54. I'm your host Mo, and I'm joined as always by my scheming and plotting spy masters, Willie.
It's me.
And Jody.
Hello. Why did the Scarecrow keep getting promoted at work?
Give me a second here. Why did the Scarecrow keep getting promoted at work? Oh, God, I don't know.
Because he was outstanding in his field.
Ah, damn it.
Every word of that punchline works brilliantly. I love it.
Have you now bookmarked a dad joke website or something? Is this stuff coming up in your life? Because that is far more interesting and alarming at the same time.
No, I just asked Google last night. That's where I get them from.
Okay.
Yeah. She's pretty shit most of the time, but every now and again, there's a little gem.
Sounds like it. You should tell us those gems sometime.
Sure.
All right, so before we get into our juicy material for this episode, Vinny, I believe you have a significant announcement for our fans.
What announcement do I have?
I knew I'd stump you with that. You're going ahead with the story so that you can read A Memory of Light before we actually do it on the podcast.
But he's like, fuck, what did I forget?
I'm tired of
That statement was engineered to elicit that response.
You got me too.
You had me there for a moment, I must say. Yes, I am just going ahead with the story now because I'm tired of not knowing what's happening, so I'm forging away quite fast.
Where are you now?
Almost finished with Lord of Chaos.
Ooh,
nice.
Do my as well?
Nice.
Not quite there yet.
Oh, that's like 55 right at the end. All right.
Because is it only A Memory of Light you haven't read? Or you can't actually remember how many of Brando Sando's books you've read?
I'd what was book 11?
11? Christ, okay.
After Crown of
So much.
Swords. It's the first
Gathering
one
Storm?
With, Gathering Storm. I think was the first one that was done with Sanderson. And that's the last one I read.
Okay. Okay, so there's 2 books you haven't read, because he wrote the last 3.
No,
it's Towers of Midnight.
It was supposed to be 1 book or whatever, but turned out to be 3.
Yeah, but if you only read up to 11, that means you're missing 12, 13, and 14. That's 3 books. The last 3 you haven't read.
Ooh.
And like 3 of the best.
Look at how shoddy our memories are. Maybe Vinny just doesn't remember the number of the book that he had read.
Maybe he's read them all.
If you've read a Brandon Sanderson book, then you've read the third last book in the series.
That must be where I'm at.
Okay. All right, cool. Okay, yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that you should know on this podcast.
Do you want to rephrase that?
There's a lot of stuff that we and our listeners could potentially spoil for you on this podcast. That's probably a better phrasing.
No, I'll be hopefully very soon through with it all because I'm doing an audiobook while I'm working. So I get a good 30 hours in a week.
Nice.
So hopefully not in the very distant future, I'll have it all done.
Well, I want to congratulate you on your decision because I fully support this. I am excited for you to experience those last couple of books because, man, it ends with a huge bang. Like I think it was in the last episode I said that I read one passage about Taim and I was crying. Like I was shedding actual tears. It is so cathartic.
No, I'm super keen.
I should actually congratulate both of you on something else as well.
Uh-oh.
Congratulations, because it is time for callbacks.
Oh.
Okay. First up, easy one. Estien's dad. Potato Head Senior is High Lord Torian.
Mm.
Torian. Remember that. I said I wasn't going to double check myself, but who am I trying to kid, right? I thought it was Dared and Nalessian who were singing together after the Battle of Kyrian, but it was Dared, Estian, and an Aielman. So Estian, Potato Head Jr., and Dared, the commoner Kyrenian soldier that leads the pikemen. Still Kyrenian peasant, Terran noble, and Aiel. That was an interesting combo. Then Joe, I answered one of your queries quite confidently last time.
And
but
you were
despite
way off.
all my confidence, I had the answer completely backwards. In A Memory of Light, when Matt asks Arthur Hawkwing about not being the horn sounder anymore, Arthur tells him, not the tree, gambler, another moment, one that you cannot remember. It is fitting, as Lews Therin did save your life both times. So it is the death in Camelin and the balefire that severs his link to the horn, and not the tree.
Okay.
I quite cavalierly just said, no, it's definitely the tree. And you just went with it because of the confidence I had in my answer.
Yeah.
So, my bad.
That's how I eventually end up voting in national elections. Just, the most confident guy. That guy. People get me every time.
All right, time to walk us back a couple episodes now to a golden oldie, which is basically just me completing a thought over several months. You're basically watching me think in real time over many, many months, which is, everyone's favorite type of callback.
Yeah. It's like parent styles, long pensive before.
Yes, I'm afraid I'm going to hurt someone with my massive knowledge. When Melindra suddenly goes to kill mode when Matt mentions Andor and Camelin specifically, I think it is finally making total sense to me. We've danced around what was going on there, but a penny dropped for me, maybe the final penny in a series of pennies. But I was listening to the podcast of The Dragon, which is a great show. Everyone should try. I'll link it in the episode description. And the host, Morgan, was talking about the Forsaken and their plans. And in a conversation between Ravin, Samael, Grandel, and Lanfear, who were colluding, they talk about the plan to draw Rand's attention to Samael and Ilion. And they go so far as to say, maybe someone close to him dies as a catalyst for Rand lashing out at Samael specifically. And that's exactly what happens, Melindra tries to do here. I think Melindra is either working for Lanfear or Ravin, and when she hears Rand is planning on going to Camelin, she has a final go at diverting his attention from Camelin to Samael by killing Matt, or trying to kill Matt, with the dagger with the 9 bees on it.
Mm-hmm. That is a large penny, Martz. Yes.
So it's not because Matt is going to Camelin that she reacts. It's because Rand is going to Camelin, and she's been instructed to nudge him to Ilion at all costs. And Matt is just a means to that end. He happens to be someone that she has feelings for, and that's why she's able to try and kill him. But she is conflicted about it, the sort of "I love you, but you must die" sort of attitude that she takes there, and says she smiles at him and that sort of thing, and but then says these oaths that I've taken are sort of, they're hard to shrug, right? Like she has to do it. So yeah, I think I finally can draw a line under what the hell, because I think we invoked that conversation with Rowan and Kerry back in Fires of Heaven days. Yes, so the end.
Thanks, Morgan. Morgan saves the day again.
Yes.
This is not the first time.
No, that's why I keep mentioning her on the podcast. Right, when we were talking about Grendel and Samael watching those Sharan leaders perform for her, right? You guys both mentioned binding in a couple of different contexts. When Grendel is telling Samael about the Sharan customs with regard to the channelers and how they restrict who can marry whom and what happens to their children, Samael asks if they use a binding like they would with criminals. It wasn't specifically in relation to the 7-year rule that we were also discussing at the time, and any subsequent death that they claimed was natural. Samael wasn't making the binding comment in relation to that sudden death after 7 years. He was talking about the restrictions Grendel was laying out in who's allowed to marry who, because the channelers get tattoos on their faces, and any child from a marriage like that gets killed in the cradle and blah, blah, But then later in the same chapter, Semirog mentions being offered 2 choices by the Hall of Servants when they find out about her shenanigans: a binding preventing her from enjoying her pleasures, or to be cast out. Now, I don't know if we didn't really talk about it, so maybe you guys know this, maybe you don't, but I thought since we brought it up, I'll do a bit of digging. In the Age of Legends, binding was a pretty common practice using binding rods like the Oath Rod, and they were originally used on channelers who committed criminal acts. Since during this time, imprisonment was not a common practice, perpetrators of crimes against the law were made to swear on a binding rod. The exact extent of the oaths are unknown, but to ensure that the crime would never be repeated. For any non-channelers, a binding chair was used. So when Samuel's talking about what people are allowed to do in the time because they are channelers and what their kids, like they could make them swear on an oath rod saying, I will not bear children, or if a child by our wedding is married, I will kill them myself, or anything like something like that to force them. And Semirog was resisting putting her hand on an oath rod and saying, I will never hurt someone with the power again, along those lines, because that's what she was doing when she was healing people. So that's specifically the binding that they were both referring to. Then we jump to Halima, and I offhandedly mentioned, doesn't she kill Anaya, who's, an Aes Sedai that we read about a fair bit? She's the one that took an interest in Egwene in the tower. I thought she was a dreamer and all that sort of stuff. And yes, she does. Anaya is a friend of Cabriana Macandes, who heard Semirog killed here. And Jody, you drew all those, you connected all those dots back to Salidar. It's the information about Cabriana that triggered in Anaya that, wait a minute, this Halima lady is saying that she fell off a horse or died in an accident. This isn't true. Investigated her and got killed for it. So it was Anaya that is killed, and her warder and some other Aes Sedai as well. Speaking of Semirog and her hatred for Lanfear, I couldn't find anything about what the root cause for that is. Not in the fandom, not in the books, nowhere. Nothing specifically stating why Semirog hates Lanfear, but it is actually commented on, even a passage that we've read in an earlier section. I think Demandred muses to himself, he thinks that Semirog wears black because Lanfear only wears white.
Yeah.
She is that anti-Lanfear that she consciously or subconsciously dresses in the exact opposite.
Yeah.
So, don't know why.
All right. One of those mysteries. Oh, maybe it's in the new book by Livingston.
Ooh, Origins.
Origins, yeah. Hey, Villy, you've got that as well, haven't you?
Yeah, yep. I'm a quarter of the way in.
All right. I'm a bit behind you still.
It's good. I really enjoy it. It's
I need to get my hands on a copy.
Well, they're available now, Moritz, everywhere.
They are. I already know who Nakomi is.
Don't say anything. Spoilers. La 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 la.
All right. Are you guys ready for a little game?
Sure.
It is guess whether this Forsaken had 3 names in the Age of Legends. Ishamael.
Yes.
Bonus points if you can name him.
No, I can't name either one.
It's Elan.
Yes.
Something with
Morin.
an N then. Morin Tenderai or something like that.
Tedronai. Yes.
Tedronai.
Very
Hey.
close to
Oh, I'll give myself half a point. You don't have to dole out any points.
it.
Do it myself.
Ravin.
I think so. No idea what they were.
Nope.
No?
Arid Mosinel. Two names.
So he was a
Demandred.
loser. He was a loser then, he's a loser now. Demandred, sure.
Demandred?
3.
Yes. Barad Bel Medar. Samael.
He seems like a dick. No, just 2.
3. Tel Janin Eleanasar.
Oh, yes. Now I remember.
Butchered. You remember now? Yes.
Now that you've said it.
Grandel.
No idea, man. No. 2.
Grandel was a famous psychologist.
Right.
Yes, she did.
Still have 3.
Camaril Maradum Nindar.
We did that just recently.
We did read it recently. Semirog.
Yes. She had 5 names.
Just a heads up, none of them have more than 3.
Okay. Oh,
Damn.
But
one.
yes, famous Dr. Semirog did have, she was Nemene Demendar Bowan.
This
All
is
right.
getting ridiculous. now.
Lanfear.
2.
I know her name. Mirren.
Celine.
She only had 2, hey?
She did only have 2. Mirren Erenail. Masana.
We haven't read much about her, eh? She's just skulking in the shadows up until now. I don't know.
Also only 2. Sain Tarasand.
All right.
Moghedien.
Old Moggy.
Definitely
Moghedien.
only 2.
3. She's a legend.
2.
Wow.
Lelaine Moiral.
Lelaine. All right.
Yeah.
I prefer Moghedien.
Yeah. Agenor.
Sure, 3. There's been a drought of 3s.
He had 3. Ishar Morad Chuain. Belthamel.
2.
2. Eval Raman.
He's an evil Raman.
He makes a bad noodle. Bilal.
Belal, no, he was a loser. He only had 2.
3 names. Durham Ladell Cham.
Cham.
It's pretty ridiculous. And last but also least, Asmodean.
Nah, fuck that guy. 2. He was only a musician. No one cared.
No, he had 3.
Ah.
Johar Adam Nesassan.
Oh, Nassassin.
Will ring a bell.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
So we were talking about, like, surely all the Forsaken had 3 names? No, half of them didn't.
All right.
Rightio then. From the Forsaken, we cross over to Pedron Niall. He does mention the throne arrangement in Camelot in his conversation with Morgase. Remember, we were talking about whether Demondred had sort of just made that happen in Tel'aran'rhiod. But Pedron Niall's sources had reported the same thing. He's also talking about it being put up on a pedestal. And then a little bit of geographic pedantry. I wouldn't say trouble, but I had to go back and read this again to sort of figure out exactly what the arrangement between Meron and Arungil are. Meron, the town that Matt and the band were in, and Arungil is actually the town on the direct opposite side of the bank of the river. So when that sea folk ship arrives and the wave mistress and her swordmaster disembark into town and the ship sails on, they're going into Arungil.
Opposite bank of the river.
Yes.
Because that separates Camelin from Kyrian. Is Arungil in Kyrian or Camelin?
In Andor.
Or in
Arungil's
Andor?
in Andor.
In Andor, sorry, I mean. Not Camelin.
Yeah, because I think they were still talking about Meron as being in Kyrian.
Okay.
Matt and the band.
Lelaine is in Kyrian, and in Andor on that side of the river is Arungil, and that's where the Thamiera went in, pulled in.
Yeah, and a wave mistress is basically the equivalent of a clan chief, so high-ranking official.
Big business went down.
One would assume. Then just a couple listener contributions. Ian Yellen writes in again, good old Ian, and he says, Taim knowing compulsion wouldn't be too extreme because several of the Aes Sedai, Varen and Leandrin can do it as talents. So it might be a talent that he possesses. I mean, this is all just fun facts, right? We've established definitively what Taim's identity during and post Lord of Chaos really was. And he also said that although severing was an old way of saying gentling, Taim is pompous enough that he would never call it gentling, as gentling is what women think they are doing to men, not what men really think is being done to them. Right? Like, it'd be hard for a man to just admit to being gentled because of, ego, the male ego. Severing is actually a pretty good and easy name for it, since that is exactly what's being done. So if Taim is using the word severing, you can convince yourself that he doesn't need to be a Forsaken to be using that word. It's basically what Ian is getting at here.
All right.
He's giving RJ a bit of leeway to help convince us that Taim is not Demondred. Okay, that is it for callbacks.
All right.
So
Brief 20 minutes.
Few more
Where
grey
he had
hairs.
2 naps.
Receding hairlines a bit
All right.
further back.
It's moving away from the callbacks.
Yeah.
So let's barrel ahead then to previously on Blood and Ashes. Matt and the band are in a town called Marone where they have been stationed for a little while. The band scoops up an orphan boy named Oliver while Matt tries to scoop up a tavern maid named Betsy. The sea folk, they see a sea folk ship drop a wave mistress and swordmaster at Arundel on the opposite bank, and they pull up stumps and move the band out of Marone at the crack of dawn the next day, making sure everyone sees them on the move. We then join Samuel and Grandel as they plot and trade strokes of manipulation, notably Grandel trying to draw Samuel's attention to Shara. Samuel is trying to squeeze information from her, but ultimately leaves unsatisfied and storms off with an angry message for Demandred. We join Semirog, where she's torturing an Aes Sedai named Cabriana Macandes and her warder. She's taking orders from Shaidar Haran, who wants as much info from the two as possible as quickly as possible. We jump then to Lelaine, who joins Nynaeve, Siuan, Leanne, and 6 other Aes Sedai from Salidar and Teleran Riyadh. As they go to the White Tower to peruse the reports and messages stored in Elida and Alviarin's desks. They learn various scraps of information when a nightmare appears, completely overwhelming the Aes Sedai, leaving Elaine and Siuan to risk their lives by entering the nightmare and helping the Aes Sedai escape. With everyone now safe, Elaine makes a quick pit stop in the throne room in Camelin, still in Tel Aran Riyadh, and is bemused by what she sees Rand has done with the Lion Throne. And lastly, Demandred appears after spying on Elaine and mutters to himself in a perfectly sane and normal way.
Yes, that.
Just like that.
Yes.
Which brings us then to chapter 8, called The Storm Gathers. Storm ahead, Jody.
I shall storm ahead. This chapter is about Nynaeve, and when I saw it, I went, "Yay, more Nynaeve!" I'm getting a little tired of her at the moment, but
Hey,
shame.
hey. At least you don't have
Dem's
Pedron
fighting
Niall.
words.
So just
Yeah, Joe, Queen of Swords, is going to come down on you.
But look, I get it after reading this, because when I started reading the chapter, I was like, "Oh fuck!" Moritz gave me a Nynaeve chapter, and then at the end of it, I was like, "All right, okay, I see what's happening here, so it's all right." But Nynaeve wakes up all sweaty and ready to bitch about something in her tiny little room that she shares with Elaine. Elaine's already up. She's giving her a rundown of what happened the night before with the nightmare that you just mentioned. Because, of course, if you remember, she was sent away to go and find Leanne and Siuan, I believe. I don't remember why she left. But I think that's
She went off somewhere. Morel sent her off to go help. someone
Yes.
do
It was like,
stuff.
go find these two in this endless void called Teleran Riyadh with no help. It's just like, what the fuck? It's like, you people know nothing. Anyway, off she goes. So she missed all of the fun last night. And here, Moritz is where Nynaeve thinks that Elaine probably went running headfirst into danger and won't admit how brave she is. We talked about that in the last episode.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, so this is in the chapter where it comes up. She thinks here how she spent the whole night looking, even if it was futile, because she wanted to avoid any unpleasantness with Morel. Now, this whole Morel story comes up a lot during this chapter. Yeah, because I've written over here, is Morel on her case because she is prepping her for Lan, or because she is jealous and doesn't want to give Lan up, or maybe a bit of both. Later on in the chapter, I changed my mind, so forget about these notes here. As I was making notes at the end, I was like, oh no, okay, I think it's that she's trying to prep her for Lan.
Yeah,
like she's not doing anything sinister. Nynaeve is still wearing the Adam bracelet. She sleeps with it on. She doesn't like giving it. Today is Elaine's turn to wear it, but she doesn't trust her. So she sleeps with that thing on and everything. And she can feel old Marrigan's fear and frustration coming through, obviously. Nynaeve mentions that she caught a glimpse of Rand when she was during her search last night in Teleran Riyadh. And that sets Elaine off on a whole different side tangent. And that son of a bitch doesn't even think about me. And there's a whole, that's like 4 pages of things about how I think about him all the time. He's probably not thinking about me. And that makes Nynaeve think about Lan. And that son of a bitch, where is he? And blah, 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 blah. It's in the book, so you can go read it. After some more news about what's happening and some more moaning from either sides, Elaine flies out the door to go and teach her first class of novices. So yeah, she's been given some work to do as well as an accepted there. Nynaeve goes to find old Moghedien, who is having an awesome time washing clothes. At least it's not chamber pots, Billy. Although, if anyone deserves to wash pots, it's her. The woman in charge, Nildra, tells Nynaeve that Morgane has to stay longer. She's like, I'm short-handed. I need this woman. Much to Moghedien's distaste. So Nynaeve heads off to get some breakfast, and it's like a kind of walk and eat kind of thing in the morning. And we get a nice little view from Nynaeve as she's cruising through the town with her bun and her cup of coffee or whatever she's drinking. Salidar is pumping. I mean, soldiers, Aes Sedai, warders, children running everywhere. Like the town is bursting at its seams. There's refugees coming in. It's like everybody. She's keeping an eye out for Siuan and Leanne, and thinking about Lan, after having that conversation with Lelaine about Rand. There's harumph, men, folding of arms, and etc., etc. Then she sees Morel, and she's like, fuck, speaking of the devil, and just darts into the first building that she sees through an open door. She stops just inside the door, as the building is currently occupied by Lelaine. Let me try that again. Lelaine Akashi. She's a blue. And she is there with Logain and 3 other nobles, high-ranking nobles from Altara, based on the way that they are dressed and what. Logain, that is giving them a speech about how the Red Archer used him and set him up as a false dragon so they can get more glory when they bring him down and stuff like that. So we have discussed this a bit. I had to go and refresh my mind, so in case you need refreshing, dear listeners, this is not true. This is just what he is making up. And since he is telling it, the Aes Sedai don't have to say it and they don't have to lie. But they told him, you can get revenge if you do this. And he's like, sure, I'm on board. Let's go. He's got a lot.
Siuan specifically, right?
Siuan specifically, yeah. But there's a lot of detail here in his description.
I think that it's all true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, but he's got a lot of detail.
He's had a lot of time to think about his sins and how he did it.
I suppose maybe they've helped him, because he mentions Javindra as the Red Sister who found him. She's not Black Aja, I checked. But later she goes to the Black Tower, tries to bond an Ashaman. Taim captures her, and then they turn her to the dark side. So she eventually does become Black Aja, but not at this stage. She's just a horrible red. So, he mentions her by name, and then later how she gives him information on where the Aes Sedai are that are coming to get him. She gives him troop positions. Like, how did you know? How did you think I knew where all the troops were all the time? How did I win so many battles? Like, it's very convincing, his story. Like, I wonder if there's just not some nuggets of truth in there somewhere. I don't know.
The best lies have nuggets of truth in them.
Indeed. So I don't know what's happening. But it's generally a lie. Lelaine notices Nynaeve at the end of all of this and raises her eyebrows, which in Aes Sedaianese means, what the fuck, bro? So Nynaeve pretends that she's there to gather the dirty dishes. She's like, grabs a jug off the table and legs it out of there. She's like, oh, I've got to take this shit to the kitchen. And off she goes. Outside, she sees Siuan and Brian. There's an argument going on with Siuan and Brian.
Weird.
Really? So out of place. He thought he complimented her. He's a fool. They're talking about his army marching, which is important from this conversation. He's done all he can with him. He says that they are wolves ready to go. You can't keep them caged. Like, I've done everything I can. We need to march, and we've got to use these guys before they get all complacent and start fighting amongst themselves. They are ready, but they're just stagnating there in Salidar. And so before he stalks off, he tells her, like, you just tell Sheriam that, my guys are ready. We need to move now. So he stalks off. He leaves Nynaeve. Joins, Nynaeve's walking up. Then she joins Siuan at this point. She wants to study her and her stilling. Of course, Siuan is not keen, but Sheriam said she must, so Siuan has been avoiding her completely. They have a standoff, and Nynaeve wins. So Siuan will meet her in the afternoon. Apparently, Siuan has plans that morning that involve helping Rand somehow, but there's no details that are shared. So she's got her own little plots that are happening on the side. Just then, Leanne approaches, and they give each other the stink eye. Apparently, the hall won't allow Siuan to join the meeting with the wise ones tonight, and then they both stalk off, ignoring Nynaeve completely during this entire process. Yes, that's what happens there. Lelaine in this instance, it's difficult to keep track of all these names. Lelaine was the one who was in the building earlier with the nobles. Has snuck up behind Nynaeve in the meantime. I was like, oh, Rodo, yeah, you didn't really think she'd let that go, did you, Nynaeve? Like, she saw you in there. She wants to. So she tracked her down, met her in the street. She is also fooled by Siuan and Leanne's performance. And, comments on how, grown women, even if they're not Aes Sedai, shouldn't be behaving like this. They should be sent for a switching, which is, you just, counter-argumenting, to yourself there, basically, saying they should go for a switching. You just said that they're grown women. You can't have it both ways. So Lelaine wants to know what Nynaeve was doing in the room when she was there with Logain and the nobles. Nynaeve tells her, like, look, listen, I just thought the room was empty. Nothing malicious or sneaky. She also asks Nynaeve about Rand, of course. What will he do next? And Nynaeve's like, how the fuck should I know what he'll do next? Seriously, I haven't seen him in half a year. I don't know who this guy is anymore. But Lelaine, like everyone else, is fascinated that both she and Egwene can come from the same town as Rand, and that there are 2 other Theodrin from that same town as well. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. You'd see why everybody would be extremely interested in this town. And later on, in my other chapter, we find there's even more wonders to be found at the 2 rivers. Then there's all the new discoveries that they have made, the places they've been, they're hunting Black Arger, etc. Like, it's too juicy not to investigate. I'm surprised not more Aes Sedai are interested in them, like how they have any time to themselves. She tells her to leave Siuan and Leanne alone. This is Lelaine talking to Nynaeve, telling her to leave them alone, like, don't get their hopes up, to be healed of stilling. It cannot be healed. But Nynaeve will not give up, of course. She also sees Dagdara Finchi, a yellow, stomping down the street. Another reason Nynaeve wanted to stay in Salidar was to learn healing from the yellows, but they won't teach her anything new because she's not a full Aes Sedai yet. So they won't give her all the tips and secrets that they've learnt that she doesn't already know. So it's pointless for her as well. They don't even talk to her. She also sees a new Aes Sedai, a grey, in town with her super nervous warder. Dressed in grey. Is this... Who is this?
It's an emissary from the tower, I think.
Is this the same emissary? Because I need to read the description of her again, because later on the emissary is revealed to be from the Red Arger and has yellow hair or something. And I thought that this woman had, like... I need to check this out.
She was dressed for riding, wasn't she?
Okay. All right.
And isn't the fringe of her shawl is a different color? It's not grey.
All right. I'll have to reread that description. But yeah, at the end when I read this and then when I finished the chapter, I immediately thought that this was the emissary from the tower. But on doing my notes, then I thought maybe they're 2 different people. Because I'm just waiting for Cadswain to show up, but I think she goes straight to Kyrian or something,
You're just excited for Cadswain, aren't you?
I'm so excited for Cadswain. All right, can't wait for her. So she also sees Uno giving some soldier a really hard time. He has been promoted by Brian to train the heavy cavalry, so that's why he's still in town, but he also claims he's there to look after Nynaeve, of course, which pisses her off even further. So this entire time, she has had no reason to channel through the Adam using Moghedien's powers, because she's got her own, because she's pissed off the whole morning. Surprise, surprise. Uno gives her a disturbing smile. I assume it's him trying to be friendly, but it doesn't really work coming from him. Then she's thinking about Tom and Julian, because they buggered off over a month ago to go scouting in Amadesia. But they should be back in a few days, apparently. So they've been gone like a month already. The Aes Sedai have also sent out scouting parties into Tarabon. But if they're bringing back any news, of course, Nynaeve is not privy to any of that. So she thinks it's them trying to just look busy instead of like moving. They've got this army, it's ready, the towns are ready to burst. Let's get out of here. Like Elida knows where we are. The White Cloaks know where we are. The longer we stay here, the worse. She's thought about running away again, because these guys are not going to go. If the Aes Sedai are not going to get us out of here, I'm just going to go by myself. But there's no way out of here. I mean, she'll get caught and brought back instantaneously. And also, where would she go? Would she go to Andor? Would she go to Kyrian? She's really got no plan at this stage. All she knows is she needs to get out of there. Because this entire time through this chapter, hence the name of the chapter, The Gathering Storm, is that she feels a storm coming. She feels shit is going to hit the fan with her weather sense. Although the skies are not supporting her feeling, she still hasn't reached a conclusion about where she's going to go and if she's going to go by the time she makes it to Elaine's novice class. She watches her a little bit. She's teaching them how to pass a small flame back and forth. It's all, novices. But there's more than 20 novices in this one class alone. I wonder if there's other classes or if they're all just, in one group.
Probably.
Because there's a lot of new novices, and they have done some scouting for novices as well. So around the few towns that are close by, and now they've got tons and tons of women who can channel. Now that they've lowered their standards a bit, so they've raised the age, of course, for which a woman can be tested and accepted as a novice. So now they've got tons. So like 2 of them, I remember Tabia, although then when I googled her, she doesn't really do much around in the story, but Nicola is there as well. We spoke about Nicola before, so we know what her story is. Tabia was part of the original 18 novices that were brought from the tower by Sheriam. So when they fled, they grabbed some novices as well. And then Nicola is from the new batch, because she is about Nynaeve's age. She's a bit older. So she wouldn't have been accepted in the tower, which is a bummer, because she ends up there anyway. And she's super strong. She's like one of the strongest in this age.
She is.
Yeah, she's nothing to scoff at. Just then, oh yes, and she's got 2 talents. What were the talents? Do you remember, Moritz? Like she's
I do not.
Oh, I should have written them down.
Dreaming or foretelling or something.
Foretelling, I think, is one of them.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, she's got 2 talents, and she's one of the strongest channelers in the age, like slightly under Nynaeve or something like.
I'm gonna put $20 on she can make Quendiar.
Yes, that's the one. You win $20, Moritz.
Hey.
And that's the one. All right, so those are 2. So she's a real find. She's just horrible. That's the problem.
Yes.
Just then, another person sneaks up behind Nynaeve. She's getting snuck up on all morning this morning. And it's Theodrin, who I originally thought was terrible, but she's lovely. She's lovely.
She is lovely.
It's so refreshing.
Easily confused with Lelaine.
Yes, okay, maybe. Although she's not bad, she's just unpleasant.
Yes.
Anyway, Theodrin, the lovely lady, she's also trying to find some time with Nynaeve to help her break her block. So I was like, just like Siuan's avoiding you, eh? Not so nice, is it? So Nynaeve complains about Siuan, but she's doing the same thing to Theodrin. But Theodrin's so lovely about it. And they talk a bit about their wilder pasts, because Theodrin was also wild. And she tells Nynaeve that her block was men, and that she couldn't channel unless there was a man around. Apparently Sheriam tricked her by letting a man that she liked, that was in the tower, sit in on all her lessons. But back at the ranch, this guy had a twin sister, and then Sheriam dressed up the twin sister like him one day and put him in her place, sneakily swapped him out, and then she was able to channel, and then she revealed afterwards, like, hey, look, it's not the guy that you like, it's actually sister. And then from that day on, Theodrin could channel at will. So anyway, that's
Pretty
the story
crafty.
about the yeah, and so glad that this guy had a twin sister. How fortuitous. But anyway, that's the story. They both laugh. They have a nice little moment. But anyway, she gets Nynaeve to agree to meet her the next day, as she is busy with Siuan in the afternoon, and she buggers off. Also, we learn that Morel has asked her to make special efforts, has asked Theodrin to make special efforts with Nynaeve, which is the line that made me counter my previous line at the beginning of the chapter.
Yeah.
And think that, all right, no, she wants, like, work hard. Land's coming. We need Nynaeve ready. So on her way back to her rooms, she's done with her hot bun and her cup of tea, and being snuck up on in the town. She goes back to her room. Dagdara, the yellow, comes running through the streets and knocks her over without stopping, apologizing. An Aes Sedai running, and Dagdara apparently is a large woman. So shit must be going down if an Aes Sedai is just sprinting down the middle of the street in town. And it's the as we learned, it's the woman from the tower from Elida, the emissary. So back in her room, she slumps onto the unmade bed. Her personal servant Moghedien hasn't had time to make beds yet, and mulls over leaving again. It would have to be Camelin in the end. If she decides, like, listen, if I do have to go, it'll have to be Camelin. Because Rand's there, first of all. I can help him, and Elaine will come with me, definitely. She needs to go back to Camelin anyway, so there's some advantages to Camelin. But in the middle of this, suddenly the door bangs open, and Moghedien is back, and she is pissed. She is unhappy with her situation. Never has she had to live like this, blah, 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 blah. But Nynaeve doesn't have time for this shit, so she thinks of switching her and passes that thought through the bracelet, and that shuts her right up. Nynaeve gets her to sit down and teach her something new. She's like, all right, like, just come sit down. We'll have time later to clean up this room. Teach me something now. Everything that has to be dragged out of Moghedien, obviously. She never offers anything to teach. She asks, what do you want me to show you? She never says, hey, this is a cool thing you should know. Obviously, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But Nynaeve does know exactly what she wants to learn. She wants to learn how to detect a man channeling, which is very hard, even for Moggy and all of the other Forsaken. And it's something that they didn't eventually do because it was impractical. It took a long, long time, was a very difficult weave, and then eventually gave you a headache in the end anyway. They carry on practicing that weave, although for hours and hours, until Nynaeve does get that headache, and during that time she also feels contentment coming through the bracelet. Is the teacher happy with her role? So she figures that even if you're a teacher, even if you're a Forsaken, it's satisfying to watch your student grow and learn. Egwene also then just barges in, slamming open the door, and she tells her about the emissary from Elida, a red called Tarna Fear. All right. Did I not write down anything about Tarna? Did somebody else? Because I remember.
Yeah,
you mentioned earlier that she eventually goes to the Black Tower.
Oh, okay.
As
wow.
an emissary, and she's turned via the 13 Madral.
Wow, I've already forgotten that. Nynaeve wants more info, so she dismisses old Moghedien, but Lelaine doesn't know too much, obviously. She is worried that the Salidarians might go back to the tower. She's just like, if this emissary's here and they say, all's forgiven, come back. But Nynaeve's like, nah, I don't think that's going to happen. These Aes Sedai are too proud. But anyway, Nynaeve still at the end of this chapter feels a storm brewing, though. Whatever is going to happen, it's going to happen soon. And that's how we leave them.
Dun,
Yeah.
dun,
Storm brewing.
So what is this storm? Is it a metaphorical storm? Like, is it similar to like Matt's dice?
Villy's
Or
read
is
ahead.
she picking up on what the weather should have been doing?
Yeah, that's my question as well. Like, it should be storming right now, but it's not. Or like,
Maybe she feels the storm, which is Do My Wells coming.
well, she's feeling that very far off. That's still like another 40 chapters
I
away.
think this chapter ends with her saying, like, according to her weather sense, it should be like hailing right now.
Yes.
It should be thundering and
It should
hailing.
be getting pelted by hail. So, I mean, maybe it has to be like a metaphorical storm, right? Because even if she could sense what the weather was supposed to be doing, it's more of like a general climate thing. It should be colder, not
And you're saying she's
this-
feeling a metaphor?
like. Yeah, I mean, doesn't Rand also later in the story like also sense a gathering storm? Like, I mean, that's what the name of the book and the name of this chapter and like all that stuff is about. Like, Rand maybe on a even bigger scale, right? Like the Taim and Gaidon final battle storm.
I have a theory.
Oh, please lay it on us.
The storm is in one of the other dominions of the Dark One, and his touch is overlaying that dominion's energy onto where they are. So they're feeling the energy of a storm that has been caused by the Dark One in a different universe, because they're just so intuitive and sensing it all. And they've been in and out of the Larandred a lot, so they've got that connection. Ran in the flesh.
I don't think that's true, but I love it. Anything multiversal.
Yes. I mean, that's not a crazy thought. I mean, apart from the fact like the Dark One. I mean, the Dark One does influence the weather, but I don't think he's not free in another domain. It's
So maybe he influences the weather so severely because that's the part of his power influence that can touch through at that level. Like, first things first, when the Dark One takes over your universe or in the multiverse, is the weather goes fucked. Then,
That's what's happening,
the
yeah.
more he gets out and the more he gets through the gaping hole that is his little ball, things get worse and worse. But the first thing that happens is it's fucking hot, it's fucking cold, it's either raining, storming, or it's not. And the opposite is happening in his world, and that's what you're feeling.
So what
If
you're
you
saying
are-
is climate change is the harbinger of the Dark One's return.
Yes.
Ooh, Tormund Gaidon is close here.
Cool, yeah. Goodbye, age.
Oh, no, that's
Where does I've got a note here that Nynaeve remarks around trash lying around Tarvalon. Is she recounting that from her or recalling that from her trip to
Yes.
Runround the night before?
yeah, like
was
it's
just
not
thinking-
being looked after.
Jeez, Elida, up your game. Like,
Yeah,
you're
there's a
really
com-
taking her eyes off the ball, hey?
Like if trash is showing up in Tel Anriad, it means it's been there a long time. Like,
Yeah.
if it's affecting the world of dreams, even.
Yeah. I had a laugh at Nynaeve thinking of Elaine recounting the events of the last chapter. Nynaeve thinks, it was a long tale with little meat to it. And I was thinking, yeah, that's kind of what the chapter felt like reading it as well. I wonder if RJ is just going, yeah, sorry guys. I know there's a lot of dry reports and notes and rumors and stuff that they were reading on the desk. It was a long tale with little meat to it.
Yeah.
Spot
What I
on.
liked
Spot
about
on, Nynaeve.
this chapter is it was written well in the context of here's Nynaeve, you know, just with a cup and a bun, just cruising through the town.
Day in the
and
life.
A day in the life, and you're walking around the town with her, and you're meeting this person, and then that person, and you see that person running, and then there's a chat going on inside a room over here. It was like a nice little tour
Doesn't
of
Nynaeve-
Salidar. Yeah.
Doesn't Nynaeve also like when she's got her cup that she was drinking her tea or whatever from and she was eating her bun, but like instead of taking the cup back to the kitchen, she shoves it in the back of a hay cart and just keeps walking.
I missed that.
I'm pretty sure she does.
Like, fuck it, someone else can clean it up. I'm
There's
accepted
Swan
now.
and Gareth and just sticks it like the cart's busy like rattling past. She's like, I'm not going to deal with this. Put it in this hay cart. And keep living my life.
Callbacks.
Oh yeah,
That's very important that we find the answer to that, Moritz.
it is crucial. I've got another note here. The stakes are high for Nynaeve and Lelaine in concealing Moghedien's identity because
Yeah.
they make a comment that Moghedien would be heading for Stilling on her way to the headsman and not much better for the girls if they were found out. I mean, that's
Yeah.
true. Like, they're playing with fire.
I mean, look, they're hiding a Forsaken in the midst of all these Aes Sedai. It's a massive danger to everybody.
It's wild, hey.
Yeah.
I mean, the only likeness we can draw is like if you're in boarding school and you're hiding a puff adder under the dorm room bed because you found it. Like, no,
very poisonous
I'll
snake,
give it.
people.
I'll give it a venomous snake, Jody. I'll give it a mouse
Venomous,
every
my apologies.
week. It'll be okay. It'll stay in the box. Ugh. Yeah.
Sounds like something very specific that Billy might have done at some point.
That happened.
That actually
No,
happened.
just no.
Vil, did you have anything there? I've got a couple more notes, but I mean, did you have
can
anything you
go
wanted to
through.
call
I don't
out?
have anything specific. It was again a Nynaeve chapter that I just didn't feel very vested in, so I just went through it and dealt with it and moved on.
Well, I've got a note here saying, aha, Nynaeve is human. When she caught herself reacting to the news of Moraine's death with relief for Lan's freedom, she immediately felt shame.
Yeah.
So yes, she can feel shame, and the fact that she feels shame makes her angry, and that's why she can channel. I also enjoyed the little interplay between Gareth and Swan. I love how quickly Swan goes back to her Aes Sedai ways when Brian tries to squeeze insider information from her. And she just immediately switches back into Aes Sedai icy coolness. You know, like he's asking her, so what did they say about marching? And then she's like, I'm not here to carry messages for you. You'll have to ask them. You know, like she's had this like really emotive conversation up until that point, and then suddenly went all Aes Sedai. And then Gareth's reaction to that is also great because he actually grins and he's like, oh man, you would have been a great opponent on that. And then has to like catch himself like, no, wait, I'm angry. I'm mad at you. And that's like, that's how they leave it. And he storms off.
Yes.
All my romantic comedy red flags going off. It was cool to hear and Aes Sedai actually say out loud that the girls have caused quite a stir among the sisters and a lot of discussion. I think it's Lelaine when she's talking to her is like, the sisters, like, because we're not privy to those conversations where the other full-blown Aes Sedai are talking about Nynaeve and Lelaine and like just how hardcore they are and like what are we going to do with them, because I think Lelaine here is even, I don't know if she says it outright, but she's intimating that as soon as we get back to the tower you're going to get raised, right? Like we Nynaeve, you're basically Aes Sedai. So yeah, cool to get that validation, because obviously we think that, but I mean, cool to hear that the Aes Sedai are actually thinking that.
I think that's the case with Theodrin. She tells her, like, you break this block, you Aes Sedai, like,
yeah,
as well. Like,
okay, maybe it's her, not
only
Lelaine.
thing
It's one of the
standing in
two.
your way. Yeah, anyway, the thing is, like, just come on, man, break the block.
Is Theodrin also raised to something beyond accepted, but not quite Aes Sedai?
I can't remember it now. I know someone is, but it
Foul
might
Lane
have been like
is.
Foul Lane. It was the only one,
Yeah.
as far as I know.
Quite a sobering thought here. Even the rebels think that Siuan was likely deposed because of her plotting with Moraine, and that she actually deserved what happened to her, if not more.
Yeah.
Like, you would assume that the rebels are like, oh, what? Elaine, she never should have done that. That's not it.
Elida.
Oh, sorry, Elida, not Elaine.
I'm sure, yeah, some are. But look, we've met lots of Aes Sedai, and few of them are nice people.
It's true. On that note, a Black Archer sister we know of, Sheriam, is actually the one that stood up for Nynaeve to allow her to study the Stilled Sisters. You know, like, it was Sheriam that I think she said to Dagdara or some of the Yellows when they were like, this is bullshit, forget about it, you're going to do your normal accepted stuff. Sheriam was the one like, no, let them study what they want to study, and stood up for Nynaeve, which is interesting considering that she's Black Archer.
Maybe she just also thinks it's a waste of time and keeps her with, like, busy work, you know,
Keeps her out
something
of
that's
the
not
way.
going to lead, out of the way,
That
doing
is
nothing.
a cool angle that I had not considered. Yeah.
Make her
fuck
waste her
Sheriam.
time and not learn something with the real power that she's got. Like, let her invest herself into a dying cause, because if she doesn't do anything with her power, then
Jokes on
One
you,
out.
Sheriam, and Dagdara, who is also Black Archer, by the way.
Oh, all right. Also, I've been thinking about this a lot the last week. In a lot of our podcasts, when we refer to the Black Archer, we're just like, oh, I wonder if she's a black. And I'm just wondering if some random person would come in and listen to our podcast. It'd just be like three old men bitching about the blacks. Now, the people that know us,
South Africans.
I just laughed at that the other day. Like, no, guys, look, people who know us obviously know what we're talking about. But if you're
Yes.
just dropping in to get a taste of what this podcast is about, it's not about that, okay? So maybe we should
It's
just
the
be,
Archer.
the Black Archer is what we upset with.
I'd be lying if I said I had not had that same thought, Joe.
I'd say just edit all of this out, save ourselves the effort.
But, I mean, we talk about reds, talk about greens, blues.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
it would be racist if we specifically called out only the Black Archer. Colorist.
Well, the
Archerist.
two of you kind of do. I must add in, like, I've always been on the side of the dark, and
yes.
you two have been quite light in that area.
Are you triggered when I do it? I love that Tom and Julian seem to just be traveling together.
Yeah, they're doing
They're
that.
best buddies now, man.
Standalone novel.
The Adventures of
Adventures of
Tom
Tom and Julian.
Nah.
Oh, you two.
Snap. Oh man, open
Wow.
mind,
That's bizarre.
fully engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Then I had at the end of this chapter, I had one of my "what's the point of this chapter" moments. Every now and then, when I read a chapter where there isn't something very, very specific, I have to go, okay, what was RJ trying to tell us here? And it's probably a mix of smaller things. It's to remind us about Nynaeve's block and that she has to work to get over it. The spreading of Siuan's lie about Logain.
Mm-hmm.
And what else did we learn? Much else from this chapter?
The emissary arrived. Elida sent
guess.
somebody.
Yeah, that's true.
The army's ready.
That's big news. The army's ready. Yeah, so like lots of little bits and pieces that shove them together in a single chapter. You get this slice of life, like you said, Joe, like this day in the life of Nynaeve as she's walking around, and you get all these little bits and pieces just to sort of check in with all those moving.
Also, Nynaeve's
parts.
ready to go. She's ready to leave again. She's had enough of this shit. She's looking for a way out. I need to be back on the road,
The
doing
old-
stuff,
The
fighting
old
Black Aja.
itchy foot.
Yeah, taking down some Forsaken,
She is capable.
Done it before.
All right. Well, then, Villy, if you don't have anything else to add, we can move straight into chapter 9, called Plans.
Plans indeed.
Tell us your plans, Villy.
No, not my plans. I make good plans. This is we're talking about Pedron Niall. Is Pedron Niall is busy
Pedron Niall.
he's busy making plans. Okay. He's having his daily meeting with his spy masters. His first spy master, uh, Abdul Omerna, is the spy master marketing department. He's out
He's
there,
the face.
the sense. He's the face of spy master, but he's not really the spy master. He's just the face of spy master. So they give him creative freedom, and they indulge his creative freedoms because it sort of puts this diastymos spin on the plans of the Children of the Light, because he just gets all kinds of crap out there. So we learn a bit of things about this Omerna that he's a unique character. The Illuminators are around, and they kind of requesting that they can set up a chapter house in Amadisia, and Niall wants nothing of it. It's like, you can't get in there. You can only get in there by marriage and birth, and like, what are you going to learn? How to make fireworks? Well, that wasn't a bad idea if you think in the context of the book a bit later. But yeah, he tells him to move that idea off. Um, it really is actually a plan with some potential, to place someone in there. But we'll leave that. We learn as well that there's 2,000 Children of the Light stations on the border with Tarabon. And is that where Caradon is? Or is that just...
Where did Niall send Caradon to Altara and Mirundi, didn't he? In like a
yes.
recent chapter.
Yeah.
He was. So like Caradon was he was operating in Tarabon and Almouth Plain, sort of stoking unrest and provoking the Dragon Sworn and like sort of fomenting that war between Aradoman and Tarabon. But I think more recently he was sent to Altara or Mirundi.
So he's not there. They're just basically keeping the riffraff out of Amadisia, whatever's trying to cross the boundary. Now, there's still reports that there's Dragon Sworn in Altara. Matem Stepaneos is rumored to want to add his support behind the children and wants to see. Now, that is the king of Ilion, who's a puppet, or
pretty much,
or
ineffectual at best.
Ineffectual, yeah.
Lord Brend calls the shots.
Very much, Lord Brend calls the shots that side. The Borderland, there's some news from the Borderlands. He dropped some overall news of just what's going down, all these little snippets. The recruiting for the Children of the Light is going really well, and the numbers are swelling. As we've had in the previous sort of Matt chapter, recruiting is going well because there's so many refugees all around, so they shouldn't take it too highly upon themselves that people are joining the Children of the Light. The jails are full, so that's a good measure of how things are going. They found 2 Aes Sedai. I don't know who these 2 sisters are that they had found.
Same.
Do we know?
No. Well,
no.
Between the 3 of us, no.
But anyway.
Par for the course.
Lamona is a blind fool idiot because he got so much wrong in the past. He's one of the people that said like Morgase is dead, but Niall actually had to show Morgase to him to get him
Physically,
to
look at
realize
her.
his spy master. Look, she's alive. Poke her with your finger. He also said the stone couldn't fall. We know how that went down.
Yeah.
He claimed that Siuan wasn't disposed. He was wrong again. I wrote, yeah, it sounds like the Murdoch media in Australia. It's everything they say, you're going to have to double check. And this is where Pedron Niall has had enough. He's like, okay, cool. You just get out of here. Send Baldwin. I need him to draft some letters for me. But before Omurna departs, he gives him probably what should have been the most urgent thing. A pigeon had arrived with a letter with some news in, and the little bone thing that the roll letter would go into is marked with 3 lines, which means don't open, take it straight to the head in charge there, the Lord Captain Commander. What is his title?
That's
Lord
it.
Captain
Lord Captain Commander, yeah.
But he brings that out absolutely last. Like, Niall is pretty pissed off about it. But anyway, he again sends him out and says, okay, bring Bulwer in. Now, in comes Bulwer. He is a scraggly, spiny man that's described to look like a bird moving when he jumps from leg to leg. Like, you'd imagine someone that you wouldn't pay a lot of attention to when he's in a crowd. But he is the true spy master. He won't believe something until he sees it with his own face. Like he won't believe it's his face until he stares at it in a mirror or something. There's something about a mirror.
It's Pedron Niall says about what does he say? A spy master should doubt his own face in the mirror, where Omurna believed anything.
Yeah, exactly. That was it.
Yeah,
Something about a mirror. Willie had it spot on.
Yeah, there was a mirror in there, and there was something about
flawless.
believing. So, there's news, obviously, that Bashir is in Camelin with an army. Bulwer speculates on if the quantity of men that is mentioned, even if it's half, it's still a sizable army. I can't remember. Did he rock up there with 9,000?
I also remember 9,000 for some
9,000.
reason.
Me too.
And what did they say in his report? 16,000?
Bulwer's report said 30,000, and he
Yes.
said half, if that.
Half,
So Bulwer is
50,
like, even Bulwer's over.
Even Bull was over then. Pedron Niall still thinks that the Aes Sedai is behind the stone falling, like 100%. There's no shifting that thought. The size of the dragon sworn that we hear about that is now really becoming problematic. Even so that it makes Pedron think that you might need to. It's not something you can face. You can't face down. If they hit 100,000, like your army can't face down 100,000 men. So that's a bit concerning. Now we hear that Bulwer's spies that he has out, all over, has worked the Dosian and Estanda to convince them to join Darlin in the sort of breakaway rebellion. So Pedron's got his fingers in all little pies, stoking division everywhere. He's a Dice Daimar like pro. He's like playing it on the highest level.
That's exemplified by he plays a lot of stones with Morgase, doesn't he? Like the two of them, and she was a really adept stones player because she was taught by Tom, and that's often used as a sort of analog for your ability to manipulate, like Dice Daimar and stones
hand in hand.
Skill go hand in hand. Yeah. So Pedron, being a great captain, great at stones as well, makes sense that he would be good at Dice Daimar.
Yeah. So there's a lot of manipulation going down at this stage. Now, other reports from Bulwer is that the Ogie is having a stump. So he's got, when it says he's got eyes and ears everywhere, he's got eyes and ears everywhere. And he's pissed off about like not even knowing that little letter because, and sort of in between all of this exchange, Niall remembers that he's got this little pigeon delivery service. Now, did I miss that the Sanshan has invaded again, or is this news from the first invasion still?
Still the first.
Still the first. So the pigeons are super unreliable. Like this
Is that what
pigeon
was in the message?
Yeah.
The letter says basically it is from Varadin, who was just an informant that was put in a trade route, and he made it really well, was selling rugs and whatever. And the letter read so chaotic, and he hasn't heard anything from a year. He thought he was dead. That okay, a year later he gets this pigeon with this letter saying that men are flying and Aes Sedai's on leashes are killing everyone, and sort of almost scroll to the last minute with that death and rolled up and
Yeah.
sent in a pigeon. That's the air that it breathes. So this very confusing for me. Like, where did that pigeon go for a fucking year? Like, what did that pigeon do? Like, the pigeon didn't, like, it was it like, oh, cool, I'm just gonna, like, have a family and meet
Is it
Mrs.
possible that
Pigeon and
the
made a
Seanchan
nest.
invaded again?
I mean, maybe.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Did they again? When did they come
I
back?
assume
Because
that they're back.
You think they're back?
I think
Okay.
they're back, and we haven't heard
I
about
didn't.
it.
I didn't even think of that, but I mean, it makes sense. Well, like, I mean, that's a long ass time for that pigeon to have.
well, let's
carry that
explore the
message
pigeon. I
around.
mean, like maybe this pigeon had its own little side quest first. Like all along, it had this
went
bone
and
on
raised a
its leg,
family.
raised a family. Fought
It was
off
actually
a
the pigeon's
hawk.
son that delivered it.
He broke a wing
On
because
the
he couldn't
original pigeon's deathbed.
This is like a family
You must take this to the
dynasty.
Fortress of Light.
Pigeon
I've put this
deliveries.
on for too long.
Now remember, hey, what was the island that the Seanchan was stationed on?
Pop quiz,
Island.
motherfucker.
It was it wasn't. It was the one that's
The
just off Falmouth.
Bay of Yeah, God
Malkin.
damn it.
No, it's not true.
No, it wasn't Tremel King.
Samara.
It doesn't
Ale
have it on my
Samara.
map. But anyway,
It's not
they're
on
right
mine.
off Falmouth, so we've read about them a book ago, more than a book ago, that they were regrouping there. So they're right there. They didn't go
Now,
back
when-
to Seanchan.
when
They
was
can-
Sirith
Taylor
in-
Dashar.
Sirith was there already. No, that's not it, Phil.
That's too north.
Sirith was there already in the prologue of Shadow Rising.
Yeah.
On chapter 1 of I think Shadow Rising is the one that has like the first chapter is just a really long chapter with a bunch of points of view in it.
Isle Somera, is it?
It doesn't
That's what I
sound
said, that's all
familiar.
Falm. Al Samera is right off Falm.
That's the one.
Maybe it is then.
Because I think that's where they're stationed. So anyway, maybe they're just doing raids, you know? Maybe they haven't come back in full force, but they're sending out raids to different cities and, you know,
It's
testing
not
strengths and
really
defenses.
the Sanshan type of thing. They're not raiders.
No, look, I think it would be. No, because they attacked. They went straight in, bungled fucking everything, got
then they
defeated
got
and pushed
kicked
back. Now they're like, okay, maybe we should try a different strategy. Let's go check their probe. And all these little probes and incursions are what people are reporting.
I think we should put a pin in this and go find some hard evidence of what's happening. Because this is the biggest thinking point for me out of all this news was, okay, he so easily discards it, which already makes it a red herring, or not.
Now, I think they're back.
Okay. Well, let's
Well, like
let's go and
not in force, but like I said, like those sightings are recent sightings, and they are back on the mainland, causing.
I don't know, man. I like the path of the pigeons taking long, which should explain a hell of a lot about why news doesn't ever get.
There's
to
another
anyone.
little side novella.
Cantorin.
Cantorin is the bay.
The principal island is Cantorin.
Yeah, so it's El Samora.
Somera, yeah.
Samora.
It's a group. That's a group of islands, and then Cantorin is the main island,
Yeah.
and the Bay of Cantorin is on it.
So anyway, close enough
Sorry,
to.
had to get that out of my head.
All right, Billy, continue.
Okay, where was I? Okay, reports
Bay of Cantorin.
yeah, so other reports that Then came in of the ogre stump that is happening, which we know is true. The other mirror ships that's in various port cities around the area, which is true. Rand is reliably reported to be in 3 cities at the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And
That
Niall
is
is like,
reliable.
your informants are fucked. And he's like, oh, or are they? Like, maybe this
Mhm.
is like, whoa, look, there's 3 dragons. Like, there must be something. Like, there's interesting
Body doubles.
body doubles or what's happening. There's rumors about Logain and the Red Archer, which has obviously been circling out of all these high ladies and what have you nots. It's going to Salidar. That's having these little interviews with Logan. Some of this is already washed up on um, Bulwer's reports.
He's
The
good.
split in the split in the tower is real. Like there's a and his theory is that the Black Archer has taken control of the tower, and he's basically, which
He's pretty much right.
isn't wrong. I thought about it. Like, is this like a lucky? But no, it's pretty right on. The Black Archer is really in control of the tower. It's
What's significant there is that an employee of the White Cloaks is admitting to the existence of the Black Archer, which
Mhm.
itself implies that the other Archers are not Dark Friends, which goes
Mhm.
directly against their doctrine and their dogma.
And
So-
Niall mentions that, and is
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
that's why I
he's
like
already
Smaller.
planned his way out of it. It's anyway. All right, so we know about that now. The Rebel Aes Sedai sisters, in this case, can now be used as a tool. And Bulwer says, the best thing to do right now is to spread a rumor. And then he's like, oh, one rumor is not going to. It's like, no, let's be precise. We're going to spread 4 rumors. The 4 rumors will be that the Black Archer split the tower and they control over the tower. Second rumor. The Rebel Tower, or the Salidar sisters, renounced the Aes Sedai, and they are approaching Pedron Niall for being cleansed and renouncing their sins. They're coming home to the light.
That's the least plausible of those rumors.
That's
I don't know.
but all of it plays into, if they admit that there is a Black Archer, that the other ones then can see they're wrong and go back, and it all just builds up the children more.
All
And
4 of
he
those
scores an
rumors
army of
can
channelers.
confirm each other, kind of a thing. Is what he was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically where that leaves off, and we leave that wonderful chapter of old men doing talking.
Was that 3 rumors or 4?
Yeah, you're missing a rumor.
No, that was all 4. The 4
Really?
were, and I said it, first one, Black Archer uprising split the tower. The second one is that the Black Archer is in control of the tower now. The third one
okay.
is the Rebel Aes Sedai announcing the tower, and then them coming to beg his forgiveness and love and mercy.
Right.
So that's the 4 rumors. Now we jump to before we do that, I skipped over something. Bulwer pushes Pedron for a decision on Morgase and say, you need to start pushing her. And Pedron says, like, no. Every day she sits here, she's more and more trapped in my plan. Like, there will be no need for pushing. Just leave her. It's going as planned. But
Yeah.
Bulwer is a little bit more pushy on that. He itched to pick up that letter as well, but Pedron discarded.
Yeah.
It's like he hated the idea that he didn't know something. It's like a real little info slut that he is.
Bulwer, info slut.
That's
That's
a
a
t-shirt.
Get on it, Barts.
Oh man, that's great. Oh, okay. Bulwer, info slut. That's a new one. Okay, so let's leave Bulwer and Pedron that side. We go to Morgase, who's doing what real people do, falconry. She's riding on a horse with the gloves, and she's got an entourage, and she doesn't take Delanvor with her because Delanvor will just want to bear steel and fight
He's going to start something.
Yeah, it's just going to make a ruckus. So
You
she's
just
leaving
stay
him at
home.
home because she's got a personal escort of prison guards, I mean security, that
Fuckfaces.
is made up of 50 men. And none of them are dressed as the children and in uniform, but they are still what they are. They are pretty much, as soon as she goes too far, there's talks of a raid, or there's bad weather coming, or it's too hot. You should go back inside, milady. It's too hot for you out here. Anyway, she's very much a prisoner of Pedron Niall. The guard commander that is looking after them there, Norwin, he's not a very talkative man. She's acting like she's not Niall's prisoner, so she's talking quite cheekily about Niall and his wine and everything else, but not pushing the boundaries too hard to still show that there's some sort of freedom in her. But she's only fooling herself to a degree. I think she realizes how trapped she actually is in that situation. So she's got her entourage of Mirandi, Algoran, and Maywine. Merwin.
I didn't even know what you were talking about.
Saying-
People?
making sounds.
Places?
This is just these women's names that's on the horses with her.
Okay.
And there's been a lot of talk about her son that is a captain now already in the Children of the Light, and what you should expect that he's going to. But yak. Talk about saddling a lion and not riding him for long. No, that's in a different chapter.
Yeah. That's the last chapter.
That's when that chapter basically ends, is her going back.
That's when they're all attacked by a lion.
No, they're not attacked by a lion. She is upset with what one of these women basically said to her, and I can't remember exactly what the gist of it was. And she calls off the hunting for the day, and she buggers off back, tell Master Gil to ready them home.
I think she acts upset.
Yeah. She's playing the game of houses.
One of the ladies in waiting, so one of the ladies here with her is sort of like, she's poking fun at her, going, "Oh, all your old, nobles are now flocking to Rand, and they're doing his bidding," and that sort of. And they name a bunch of them, and they're all Gabriel's old cronies, and none of Morgase's true allies, right? So all those, I'm not going to name them all now, but they will become.
I was not interested to write them down either.
These are the names that we are going to read until our eyes bleed in book 10, like in the depth of the slog, with that whole Andorran throne politicking BS.
10 was my favorite book, man. What are you talking about? It's fantastic.
These are the nobles that we're going to be reading about, the ones that used to be loyal to Morgase and that are going to help Lelaine take the throne. But Morgase is secretly happy that the names she heard are not her true allies.
Yeah.
So she's acting all perturbed, but she isn't really.
Yeah, this noble lady that she's speaking to is of very high standing as well. Like, she's not a lesser noble, so
Mirandi.
She's glad to have her there because she's getting all this info. It's like, sweet. Yeah. I don't even need Bulwer, the info slut. I just, this woman over here.
And she's trying to get a rise out of Morgase, so Morgase is giving her the reaction that she wants so that she'll keep doing it.
It's like, you picked a fight with the wrong person. You don't know what you got yourself into here.
Pro Stones player over here.
Yeah.
There's not a lot that goes on in that last section, so the last notes I'll make about it is, okay, I've got 2 notes. More Paetier?
This is the last time that he features now. This is after
is it? Well, you read about his demise.
No, I had to look up because obviously Paetier is now a name that sticks with me because we covered him. It wasn't too long ago that we actually did. But he gets his comes-uppance with the Children of the Light quite soon now, apparently. And he gets ousted as a dark friend and get hung. As you said, that time, Mo, a broken clock's right twice a day.
Yes, they're hanging for helping Morgase, but he's a dark friend, so well done, I guess. And then the last thing about this last little section is just, I thought that Morgase is so savvy. She's downplaying her affection for Galad so that they don't use him against her. because they're basically like they're entrenching Galad in the White Cloaks because he's leverage, right? So I wonder how much of what his rank is now is based on the fact that he can be used against Morgase quite easily when he is a person of note within their ranks.
Yeah, she played that down very and she had me fooled when I just read it the first time. I was like,
he's Tarangale's son, not mine.
Tarangale's son. It's like I don't really care for him much. Like, well, hold on, you birthed him out at your vagina. You care for it then. It's not like you just go like.
She didn't.
Is it not?
Tigraine did.
Is it
Rand's mother?
Fuck, that's right. It's Rand's half brother.
Yes. Tarangale is the guy that was plotting to have Tigraine. No, Tarangale is the guy that was trying to become king. When Tigraine ran off, she left Galad behind with her dad. And Tarangale married Morgase, and Morgase adopted Galad as her son. Then Tarangale plotted to have Morgase killed so that he could be the king. And then Tom put an end to that little farce and had Tarangale off in a hunting accident.
Yes.
So he's literally not specialty. Her son. But she does care for Galad. And I mean, Galad goes on his whole vengeance quest later in the story because of what he thinks had been done to Morgase. For all intents and purposes, Morgase is his mother. At least how he sees it.
All right.
So that was pretty cool. So back to these other spies and clowns. Joe, did you have anything you wanted to say about Omerna or Bulwer or anything?
No, I was going to call out that that little cylinder that Niall threw on the floor, like in disgust, and that Bulwer's eyes never looked at it, but like directly at it. But he knew, like as soon as he can, that thing's going to end up in Bulwer's pocket somehow. Like,
yes,
if he doesn't destroy it right now. He's not even looking at it directly, but I can see that he's looking at it like somehow. I
got the sense that Niall thought that like before Bulwer leaves the room, it won't be on the floor anymore.
Yeah, like how the hell?
Somehow
he's going to get his hands on that.
They mentioned the illuminated chapter house in Kyrian that's been abandoned. I mean, after Rand and who else snuck in there, like exploded half the place, Tammuz and Eludra, and everyone was up in a tizzy. And then immediately after that was Civil War. Yes, I'm not surprised at that chapter.
It was the evening of the start of the Civil War, basically, when the granaries went up in fire. Maybe Rand set the fireworks and the granaries on fire.
Shot a firework from the chapter house and landed on the granaries.
Yeah, we've had it wrong.
It's the Theodrin after all. He needed a war in that country.
Niall makes mention here. Sorry, I'm picking up the book because I want to quickly look at what he says exactly. He says that when they're talking about Matan Stepanios, he goes, the Iliana king came out on top in the troubles finally, at least to the point of forcing a treaty that affirmed the border between Amadisia and Altara, where it was at the beginning. But Niall doubted the man would ever forget that he had had the advantage of terrain and numbers at Soramain and still been defeated and captured. If the Iliana companions had not covered the field for the rest of the army to escape Niall's trap, Altara would be a fief of the children today, and very likely Mirundi and even Ilian. That was during the White Cloak War. Someone else we know fought in the White Cloak War, a certain Tam Althor.
When I read Alien Companions, I was like, "Oh, Tam."
Tam.
Exactly. So Soramain was the site of a major battle. And so during the engagement, the Children of the Light captured and later ransomed Matan Stepanios Dun Belgar, the king of Ilian. Though the battle was lost, the Iliania companions, quote-unquote, covered the field, allowing the rest of the army to evade Pedron Niall's trap. Bit of history on Tam here. In 956 New Era, Tam Althor ran away from his home in the Two Rivers and joined the army of Ilian, eventually becoming a member of the companions. While serving in Ilian, he fought through the White Cloak War, 2 wars with Tyr, and the Aiel War, and during this time he was able to rise to the rank of second captain of the companions. He rose to the status of Blade Master by defeating one in single combat, an action that he expressed some regret over, despite saying that it needed to be done. And then Robert Jordan indicated during a 1994 Q&A session that Tam was given the Aes Sedai Heron Marked Sword by the King of Ilian, likely from being instrumental in saving his life.
Okay, that's good.
That last sentence was my assumption. So like just putting all those things together, this battle that that Niall is musing over here, Taim was there, probably one of the companions, probably saved Matt and Stepanios' life, and was gifted an Aes Sedai wrought heron mark blade in thanks.
These Thors have been buggering with his plans for decades.
A thorn in his side.
An Thor in his side.
Taim could have had a very real influence on the outcome of that battle, which is just another cool feather in Taim's cap. Omerta, again, talking about a broken clock being right twice a day, he was right about one thing. The unrest in the West is a result of Arthur Hawkwing's armies returning from across the Arather Ocean.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck is this guy talking? Returning armies of Arthur Hawkwing. What an idiot. No, actually, 100% spot on.
Right. He's also bought 3 horns at great expense.
I was about to say.
Selling them in the middle of the night. They're trying to recall the armies of the past.
Apparently he bought the horns and was found in the country, sneaking off. I imagine him sitting behind a bush blowing on this thing until he's blue in the face to see if anything happens. A nice little piece of foreshadowing here is that Niall thinks of Bulwer that he would serve any master as well as he did Niall, but that was good. He does.
Yeah.
He serves Perrin.
Yeah.
So that's a nice little, just plant that little seed so that when Bulwer does eventually work for Perrin, there's precedent to assume that Bulwer would work for Perrin as loyally as he does for Niall.
And that's
no reason
also
to doubt him.
an interesting switch as well, because Perrin has a long and difficult history with the White Cloaks, and then their top spy
Directly
master
opposed to it.
ends up working for him.
Chalk one up for the good guys. Rand's army on the border of Ilion horrifies Niall, but he still thinks of them as an army of fools and villains and Aiel savages. Idiot.
That arrogance, that, the great downfall of all of these people.
Mm-hmm. They're not so great captains. That's it from me.
Until next time, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Nighty night. Now, let's move along to chapter 10 then, called A Saying in the Borderlands. What do they say in the Borderlands, Joe?
Watch out, a Trolloc! No, I
bet a lot.
They say, I've got it written down here. I'll say it at the end of the chapter. There's lots of sayings in the Borderlands.
Sure are.
Yeah, it is a place of sayings. We're with Rand. Rando! Sup, we were just talking about your dad. Rand is walking through the palace in Andor with Bashir, Bael, and 6 knife hands, and Sulan with 20 maidens. Just a couple of O's.
Still love that society, the knife hands.
The knife hands, yes. They're awesome as well. I dig them. And they are servants scurrying around, but most are old. The retirees had to come out of retirement to pick up the slack after Ravine fucked everything up and people died and everybody fled. So there's no staff. They're seriously lacking staff at the moment. This is the gist of this entire chapter, is that there's not enough people cleaning. So yeah, Bashir is talking to Rand, but Rand is multitasking and he's thinking about all different things at the same time. So he's thinking about getting uniforms for the new staff and checking whether anyone is paying these old timers their pensions. I'm thinking, he's a good kid, And it's like, look at these guys. So cool of them to come out of retirement and help us out. I should get them some money. I wonder if they're okay. Then he thinks, it's like, oh, wait, Halwyn Norrie. This is another little dude that becomes important later on. The chief clerk. He's the chief clerk. He'll know about the pensions and if someone pays them or not or whatever. So I'll speak to him. I had to, just go look up about old Halwyn Norrie as well. He later becomes spy master, speaking of spy masters, along with or in competition with Renee Harfor, the head housekeeper, who's also in this scene. All right. Well, she's actually physically present in the scene walking around, but he's just thinking about Halwyn. So, just cruising, basically to set the scene, cruising through the halls of the palace in Camelin with tons of people around him. getting his daily briefing, I suppose. He also thinks about the waygates. I was like, oh shit, I've forgotten about the waygates completely. How old school are waygates now already, eh? He's got this one in Camelin and the ones in Tyr and Kyrian. He's got them guarded in case something happens. I said, just remove the leaves from both sides. Isn't that how you do it? Anyway, so much worry, so much to worry about. But at least old Luz Theron is quiet in his brain this morning. There's a lot of Luz in these later chapters. He's also learned the no sweating trick from Taim. Yay! I was like, sweet, finally. So the heat is not touching him now, even though he's wearing his big thick coat. He wonders if the Aes Sedai know this trick as well, because he's never seen one sweat. And he's like, wait, do they sweat? And that makes him laugh. Burst out loud. Loud laughing. Interrupting Bashir. I'm like, I'm not crazy. You're crazy. What are you talking about? Bashir asks him, did I say something funny? And the maidens lean closer to hear because they're taking the task of learning Wetlander humor seriously. And they're like, okay, we didn't get it either. So let's learn why it was funny. But Rand, like I said, was multitasking, so he was listening to Bashir, and he apologizes. He says, I'm sorry, no, listen, I was thinking about something else that occurred to me and it made me laugh. Nothing about what you said. You said something about Camelin is filling up with refugees, trouble in the borderlands, there's an uprising in the west of Andor, so the information he's getting as well is also pretty much spot on. Trouble in the borderlands, there's war between the borderlanders. Why? Have we read about this yet, or is this just the beginnings and we'll get to it later?
We do. I had the same question at this point, but you hear about it later. I think I can't remember who's talking about it, but it's got to do with whether they believe Rand is the dragon or not.
All right.
And in the Borderlands, disputes often erupt in actual battle, but it's not serious.
The truth of it is that they had a downturn in business on killing Trollocs, because unbeknown to the Madral on that side of Bly, they've just been feeding them into the waygates like sausages. Like, oh yeah, we're flooding the lands. Every day another 1,000 has been going in there, like literally to the meat grinder. So they weren't coming across and stealing chickens and eggs and women and everything else. So the Borderlanders had nothing else to do. All they know is fighting. So they're like, okay, cool. Well, what do? You sit in the pub and you talk about the Dragon Reborn. That's the news of the day. So 2 nights like that, and it broke out into war between towns, and then
just 2 nights of drinking.
Normal stuff happening in the Borderlands. So you got to have the enemy there. You got to have darkness to retain a balance. Look at how good it was when they were just fighting Trollocs.
That's why you can't kill the dark one. All right, so there's another Villy theory, everybody.
I mean, idle hands, right? And they are warriors, so
surely some of them are just itching for a fight. But I think there's a reason about the Dragon Reborn, blah 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 blah. There's a reason about that.
It's anyway, mentioned. So, I made the same note, Jody, and then it's addressed later
in this chapter.
Either this one or the next one.
All right. Well, anyway, there's also the other news is there's an uprising in the west of Andor, and it's like, yeah, that's old Lord Perrin there for you, raising the Manetheren flag there in Andor. But anyway. So he's got some information. But the trouble in the city is most pressing. All these new people, not all of them are refugees. Surely some of them are dark friends here to kill Rand. Bael and Bashir both agree on this. There's other kinds of trouble too. People are getting beaten for doubting Rand is the dragon. And one dude was hanged for laughing about Rand's miracles. And Rand's like, what? Miracles? Just then, an old servant drops a Seafolk porcelain vase that goes bouncing 30 paces down the hall without breaking and then standing upright at the end. And he's like, oh, those miracles.
Oh, yes.
And like Bael and Bashir just kind of look at each other after this, like, that's just what I was saying. Weird shit happens around you. So there are stories every day about strange occurrences happening. Kids falling out of windows or second-story buildings and landing headfirst on the stones, and nothing happens to them, etc. There's a whole bunch of stuff that they go through. But Rand does note that they don't mention the bad ones, the ones where people die, where some guy's just walking out of his house and he trips and his scarf gets snagged on the door handle and he chokes himself to death. And just weird shit.
The
Rand
increase
is
of people choking on lunch time nuts was like 400% up. It's like, let me tell you about
right. I don't have those stats in front of me, but I'm sure that they are correct. Rand tells them to find the guys who hanged the old dude for laughing and arrest them for murder. He's not, he's got enough shit to deal with already. Like Massima, I forgot to mention him, Massima and the rumors that he is a false dragon, Rand, not Massima, who killed Morgase. Then there's talk of an uprising. Like people are stirring shit in the city saying like, he's not the real dragon. He's fake and he killed our queen. We got to rise up. So he can't afford this shit. Like people are going to talk shit. There's going to be rumors and everything. There's nothing he can do about it. But he's got to stamp this shit out at pronto. So he asks eventually, is there any good news that you would like to tell me? But she's like, well, depends on your version of good news. But he tells him of Elorian of the house of Tremane and Pelevar of House Colin entered the city 3 days earlier. So these are the people that were not mentioned to Morgase in the last chapter. The ones that actually support her. Apparently, Dylan of House Taravan, we know a lot about Dylan later on, is in the city as well. All houses who supported Morgase, and maybe Lelaine as well. Yeah, spoilers, they do. But they have none responded to his invites. All right, so Dylan does support later on Lelaine, even though Dylan is Morgase's cousin and is second in line after Lelaine for the throne. So she has a strong claim. Elaine's not there. Morgase is dead. She could make a move legitimately. Yeah. But in the end, she supports Lelaine. The other two,
She does.
what was his name? Pelevar and Elorian. They support Dylan. But because she's supporting Lelaine, they're like, fuck it, whatever. Okay, we'll follow you. So they're not directly supporting Lelaine, but they end up being part. There's a siege later on in the city, and Lelaine wins it with the support of Dylan and all these people. All right. Rand is playing some Dice de Mar that he learned from Moiraine. He even thinks about it. He's like, cool. So he tells her, he tells Bashir. So, write more invites, because as I mentioned previously, that none of them responded to invitations to come and meet the Dragon Reborn. So, write some more invites to them. But Bashir points out to him that it's like, look, me writing these letters is only reminding them that there's a foreign army on their soil. So he's like, all right, cool, you write it. I'll sign it, and then we'll get this lady Aramilla to deliver it, because she's always on trying to get her dirty little nose in here somewhere along the line. Yeah. She's the one that later lays siege to Caemlyn against Lelaine, but loses, is this lady Aramilla. So I was like, wow, that's a really cool way of doing it. Have Bashir write it, and then Rand sign it personally, and then deliver it by this traitorous scum house from Caemlyn. So it really just playing with people's minds. More news is that 2 Aes Sedai have entered the city. There are rumors of an Aes Sedai who heals local cats. Does that sound familiar? But it's not Marilyn Gemalfin that they are referring to here. Although that does mean that the Black Aja is in Caemlyn. So, confirmation for you there. There is lots of talk about this Aes Sedai running around healing cats. So, we know that.
Wait,
I don't know all of them.
Is it her or not?
It is her. That's what I think. I mean, there's so many rumors about a same thing, about healing these cats around, that it has to be Marilyn. Which means at least one of the Black Aja is in Caemlyn, and they never travel alone, so there's more. But the 2 Aes Sedai that Bashir is talking about is not her. Yeah. Luckily. So, they're busy saying, I don't know. Yeah, a lot of shit happens either way. Shit's going to happen. Uh-huh. So, they're still busy walking, getting all this information, just walking through the hallways. And on their walk, they pass some open doors onto the gardens where he sees a super beautiful Avienda. And his mind shuts down. His mind goes all sideways on him. He thinks, oh my God, do I love her? It's like, yeah, you do love her, dude. Shut up. But what about Lelaine? And Min? For some reason, Min keeps popping into my dreams naked. Like, yeah, dude. We know all about that. So to avoid talking to her, at the end of that is, he decides to go visit this new Aes Sedai in town. He rarely leaves the palace, but again, he needs to get the fuck out of there. And announces that maidens must come with him, but any of those who want to play matchmaker can stay behind and put on dresses. I was like, I'm talking to you, Enila and Jelani, because they were already moving on their way ahead of him towards, because they just left, because at this point, he's still inside. He's just looking through the doorway. But they saw Avienda out there and just like went ahead, so they're already in the garden. Yeah. They were like, oh, now's the time. Let's start stoking this fire. But he's like, no, you guys, we're getting out of here. So everyone noticed Rand staring at Avienda with all googly eyes. So on the way to get the horses and go visit these Aes Sedai, Bashir tells the heir, no one in particular, that a man knows that sometimes he must retreat from a woman, but a wise man knows that sometimes he must stand and face her. Nice, Bashir, subtle. Bael says something similar in Aiel talk about young men and blah, 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 and all the Aiel laugh because he's funny. Rand retorts with, neither of you will look good in a dress, to which the Aiel laugh even more. And I'm like, yeah, there you go, Rand, you're getting this Aiel humor thing. Like, hey, he doesn't know. Like, it was a retort, but not a joke. But anyway, they think it's hysterical. Anyway, jokes aside, they make their way through the streets. They got the horses now, and they go to the inn called Kulaine's Hound. Interesting. I don't know who Kulaine was and what his hound did, but something of renown. So on their way, like this is like 4 or 5 pages of the book, them just cruising through the streets on horses, which I paraphrased into, they see lots of people from all over the world in the city.
Yes.
There's Kandorians and everybody, all right?
Yeah.
On entering the inn, Rand is shocked to see it is full of Emmons Field girls. And Bode is there, Matt's sister. And just a bunch of other people from Emmons Field, but not only Emmons Fielders, but from all the other Two Rivers town, and even some foreigners. Like he sees a couple of like faces he doesn't recognize. There's a Damani girl there. There's like tons of them. And they see him, of course, and then they all start talking at once. And there's a, how are you? Where's Matt? He's not here. He's fine. Everything is fine in the Two Rivers. Lord Perrin is awesome. They fought off the Trollocs and the White Cloaks. Peyton Fane was there too, but he's disappeared. We're going to Tar Valon to be Aes Sedai. And Verin is there. They are not going to Tar Valon just yet. She pops into the back, and she goes, no, we're not going to Tar Valon just yet, girls. So Rand, of course, knows why. Thomas, before we get into that, Thomas and Ivan are there too. And I was like, hey guys, long time since we've seen you. Everyone who can kill very well is now eyeballing the other one. There's Saldaeans in the room, there's warders, there's maidens, there's knife hands. You can cut the tension with a knife. Hand. Rand sees all of this and announces to everyone in the room that there will be no trouble. No trouble unless you start it, Verin. And the girls are like, what the fuck is he talking to Verin Sedai like this? You can't talk to Aes Sedai like that. But Verin's all coy. She says, well, you have come far since we last saw you. And I'm like, fuck yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
All right, a lot has happened. So he tells her, like, listen, if you're not going to Tar Valon, it must mean that you know that the tower is broken. Which is kind of still newish news for Verin and Alana. They only found out in Whitebridge on the way here from the Two Rivers. The girls know nothing about this, of course. Everybody's like, what the fuck? What's going on? So they decide, she's like, let's go talk in private rather. So they leave. They go to the private dining room. They're leaving the maidens and the warders outside reluctantly. I mean, the warders and maidens are reluctant about it. Not Rand and the Aes Sedai. But as soon as they are inside the private dining room, Rand asks if they plan to take the girls to the rebels. He doesn't know where they are, though. Seems like everybody else does. I don't know why Rand doesn't know yet. But the Verin and Alana don't know where they are either, the rebels, that is. They don't know about Salidar yet. And they don't really know what to do. Like, who do they support, really? And apparently Rand knows more about this than they do. So Rand assures them that he means the rebels no harm. In fact, he has it on good authority that they will support him. Is this Egwene telling him that? Who gave him that information?
Must be.
Must be.
Who else?
Yeah, I suppose. But he's getting nothing out of these two Aes Sedai. If they did know, they wouldn't tell him anything. So they ask about Matt, and he's like, well, if I knew about him, I wouldn't tell you either. And I was like, fuck, very mature, Mirand, very mature. But, fuck them. They don't want to share their information. I can understand. Alana reaches out to Rand after mentioning he looks tired. She promises him, quote, Nothing I do here will cause you any injury. And the second you read that, fuck. Those
God damn it.
Dem sounds like Aes Sedai words. So he stupidly lets her touch him and bam, you're now my water bitch. So this is where it happened. I do not remember it happening here in such a surprising and...
Like a real off the cuff, like, wham,
off
got
the
you.
cuff.
Married.
Yeah, like
When
really.
they walked into this room, I was like, oh shit, it's going to happen here, isn't it?
I did not. I thought she would try and build up trust with him and like try and and they get close to him and then sneakily do it. I didn't remember that. It's just like, hey, how you doing? You look sick. Boom, water. End of story. So she bonds him. This enrages him. He grabs at Saidin and demands to know what she did to him. He feels his skin tingle and then them beating at his connection to Saidin as they try to shield him. But he is way too strong for him, and he shields both of them instead. Quite easily and nonchalantly. Mm-hmm. He demands again to know what she did, and then Varen tells him, like, all right, she bonded you, And I'm thinking, Varen wasn't very shocked. Was she in on this plan? Was she aware that Alanna wanted to?
No.
They
They have a whole chat about it in the next chapter.
Yeah, but what I got from it is that they linked
No.
at that period of time when she delved him. They linked already. But
No,
even
not
them
after...
linked was not good enough to try and block Rand.
No, I think they only linked when he sees the source or something. Like, it was only after he got angry they linked.
Yeah, after he got bonded, they linked because Varen even quotes saying something like, how would that affect her if they were linked when she bonded Rand? Like, would Varen also be involved somehow? Anyway, that's besides the point. What I'm not saying is like, okay, maybe not it's Varen being part of an active plan, but Varen was aware that Alanna was trying to do that. Like, because she knows a lot of shit. So maybe she figured it out. Maybe she wasn't part of the plan, but because she doesn't seem shocked about it. She's like, oh,
maybe
no,
she saw the weeds.
No, she saw the weeds, but she knew it was coming. Eventually, like that was. I don't know.
Well, it was part of their plan because she tried to do it with Perrin as well, and no uncertain terms, Fael told her she'd be dead.
I'll fucking kill you. You touch my man. Yeah. So anyway. That's what I figured, that Varen is not surprised that this happened. So even shielded, face to face with the Dragon Reborn, they remain calm and look him dead in the eye. Later on, we see that it's not all is as it appears. Rand decides that they will now stay in Caemlyn. Like, I can't trust you guys. And as you guys don't know what to do with the rebels and going and choosing which side, I'll decide for you. You are barred from entering the inner city at all. You are barred from leaving Caemlyn and all of this stuff. And he just puts them in their place. They want to protest, but Rand threatens to tie off the shields and just leave them. And if you try and leave, then I will tie it off permanently and throw you in a cell on top of all of that. Comprende? And they're like, all right, fine, cool. You are the boss. You win. So pissed off, Rand barges out of the dining room back into the common room. Bode freaks out, telling him that, hey, these people are saying, these so-called friends of yours are saying really nasty things about you, saying that you're the Dragon Reborn and blah, 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 blah. And Rand just replies, I am. But Bode and Lelaine, another Two Rivers girl, tease him for being so arrogant, thinking, letting these people convince him and, stop it now. It's not funny. So he gently ties them up in flows of air and lifts them up into the air. I'm thinking, oh, shame, these poor girls must be freaking out. And they do freak out. So he tells them that he tells them that I am the Dragon Reborn, wishing that I won't change anything. Do you understand? He realizes at the end that he's actually shouting at them that he's lost control again. So he's Dragon Reborned the shit out of these girls. He's got them up in the air, screaming at them, until Alanna touches his arm gently and says, like, please, like, let them down. They're freaking out. Chill out.
He might as well have taken a knife out and slit someone's throat just for dramatic effect at that point in time, because that's pretty much what he's done to them.
I don't think so, but yeah, even worse. So the girls are freaked the fuck out, and he's like, oh shit, I should not have done that. But also, the innkeeper is freaking the fuck out. Don't forget there are other people in this room besides just these people that we're reading about. And the serving maids as well. Everybody's just like, what? So they run to the other girls that after being released, they're crying and huddling together. The serving maids are crying and huddling together. And he's trying to apologize. He went too far, but there's no going back now. They are not listening to him. They are just hysterical and freaking out. The maidens give him such a stink eye. The look that they give him, you can actually smell it like a burnt fade, I imagine, from a mile off. But Shia says, like, you know, all right, what's done is done. Maybe it's for the best, you know. And I'm thinking, maybe he's right. Like, Rand's only going to cause pain to those around him. Better that they stay far, far away from him anyway. So maybe it's for the best. And then he leaves the tavern thinking the saying from the Borderlands: duty is heavier than a mountain and death lighter than a feather. And just wondering if that mountain ever got any lighter or if it only gets heavier. The latter, my friend, the latter. And that's how we end.
We all know the answer to that one now.
Mm-hmm. Life is shit and then you die. That's also a Borderland saying.
Is that the end of the chapter?
Yes.
Okay.
It was a long chapter, but yes, a lot of it is just utter crap. Lots of walking around in the palace, and then lots of riding around in the streets afterwards. Look there's a guy with a hat on that's different, and there's a lady with a dress that's a bit dirty. It's like,
I think it was you that called this out before, Joe. Like, this is a classic RJ move, right? Like, lull you into this false sense of security, and then bang, something huge happens. Like this event of Alana bonding Rand. It was, I mean, I saw it coming when they walked into that room, but before that, I was like, oh, so nice, all the Two Rivers girls. So this is so great. And then when they walk in the room, like, oh shit, this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
And this is a nice reunion moment. Like, they get to sit around a cup of mulled wine and laugh, and a cutscene with a little bit of music and reminiscent. No.
Cutscene.
No. It's not what's going to happen. There's a lot of things happening without consent. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Vil, the floor is yours. You got anything you want to expound on there?
No, I think Jody built up what he could out of that chapter. It was a very, very long and drawn out one.
We're 54 episodes in, and I still do the same thing after each chapter. Like, I'd say, is there anything you want to add? No, I think they nailed it. I think they got it. Okay, let me run down my litany of points. So let me do that without any further ado. Rand, doing the old classic distancing himself from the Two Rivers so that people can't use it against him. That old chestnut, right? Like the old superhero thing. He can't go back to Eamon's Field to go say hi. He can travel now, but he's not going to do it. He's going to have nothing to do with the Two Rivers because, like Morgase and Galad, he doesn't want people to use Eamon's Field and the Two Rivers as leverage against him. Old mate, what's his name? Pedron Niall had already tried to do that, and Rand didn't bite then. Luckily, Perrin went and sorted shit out. Rand also thinks when you have that...
Perrin.
Oh, sorry.
To you.
Yes, Lord Perrin. Yes. Rand thinks when you have that mountain on your shoulders, it's hard to put it down. And I said, lol, according to Land, the only way you can do it is by dying. Because Rand asked him once,
so funny.
when can you put it down? And Land's response is just, when you die.
Yep.
Oh, so bright and cheery.
Borderlanders. Gotta love them.
When did Rand find out that Massima is the prophet?
From Nynaeve and them? Did Nynaeve not tell him at the end of when she met him when he was in the fish fighting
Ravin? Did she? Maybe. I'll go check.
I think they had a chat about that then. There was more pressing matters at the time. Look, he's got eyes and ears everywhere. Surely these dragon sworn, whatever they're called, from Massima's dudes, are causing a lot of shit. The news is spreading. He would have heard it eventually.
But they just call him the prophet. None of them would be talking about him as Massima, surely. I thought like maybe roundabout, because Nynaeve does know. Obviously, she met with him. She may have said it to Egwene. Did Egwene say at one point, oh, I vaguely remember that guy. Yes, it makes sense that he would become crazy. Like that sort of line was uttered. I don't know if it was Egwene that said it though. It might have been Lelaine or someone else. Not that she ever met him. But yeah, it just, I've never read where Rand is told that I can remember that it is Massima.
Oh, Moritz asking the hard questions. I don't know. No idea.
Anyway, it is known. Rand thinks he would hand Andor to Lelaine as an unblemished land as it had come to him. It came to you pretty fucking blemished, Rand. Yes.
Was controlled by a
It was
Forsaken.
civil war. It was controlled by a Forsaken. It's like, it
was
unblemished.
shambles.
Come on.
Total shambles.
Maybe he thinks of it as he saw it the first time when he went there at Fall of the
Yes.
Palace Walls. Like, oh, this is how I'll give it back
Yes.
to her. Meantime, granaries burned to shreds. I know, that's a different city. It's still, shit's broken.
Yes, no, it's pretty busted up. He also has no idea where Lelaine is. So nothing from Egwene on that front?
What do you mean from Egwene?
I mean, the wise ones and the Aiel talk to Rand, and Egwene is always with them.
All right.
Egwene is feeding news about Rand back to Nynaeve and Lelaine via their Tel'aran'rhiod rendezvous with the wise ones and everything, and have been for months now. So I'm surprised that Rand doesn't know that Lelaine is with Nynaeve in Salidar.
Look, if I had a euro for every time we said, I'm surprised that this person doesn't know about this, I would have like
I mean,
100 euros.
Egwene was sending messages back and forth on behalf of Lelaine and Rand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was messages sent directly to them. But anyway, so Rand doesn't know. Fine.
Yeah, we haven't read about Egwene.
No, not since she got hurt in the Landfair attack.
Mm.
The previous book.
Maybe that's why he doesn't know, because his information source is out of action at the moment.
But still, the wise ones are still meeting and stuff, right? Like Egwene.
But they don't tell him anything. He relies on Egwene for the info.
That's true. That's true. And Moraine's not around anymore either, so she's not chipping in either. Okay, fair enough. I liked that Bile was frowning slightly, so slightly it wouldn't be noticed by anyone that was not Aiel, which implies that Rand is Aiel and not just by birth. Nice. He's thinking of himself as Aiel. Yeah. Noteworthy here that Luse's voice in Rand's head is starting to sound like it may be responding to Rand's thoughts. Like it was always just a voice, obviously setting up for the madness that will come to a head at Dumas Wells.
Pride, when he was thinking he could take care of these Aes Sedai. Luce Theron was like, don't be prideful, don't be prideful. Bam! Shouldn't have been prideful.
It feels like forever since Rand has gone to an inn. When's the last time that would have happened?
Master Gill? Basil Gills?
Or somewhere in Kyrian, when they were hunting the Horn. Because in The Dragon Reborn, they camped in the mountains, and he's sort of like running in the bush like a feral cat all the way to the Stone of Tyr, right, to go get Galandor. And then when the stone has fallen, he's sort of like, okay, well, basically the King of Tyr, and now he's like in the king's apartments and stuff. So it's been ages since. So like when Rand goes to the inn here, I said his approach to it highlights the massive change he's undergone, right? So even to us, it seems crazy now that, Rand, the Dragon Reborn, with his whole entourage and his retinue, is walking into the common room. It seems foreign to even us. And, like it's not been that long since we've, been spending time with Rand. So, he really has. I mean, Varen makes the comment that he's come far in the time since she's seen him. It really is really far. Like he is the king of multiple countries. And an entire people from beyond the Dragon Wall. I love that, Rand calls Varen just Varen, but she also just calls him Rand.
Yeah. They're old buddies,
This
man.
way, Rand.
Yeah. Sure, Varen.
And then my last thought is just like, Thomas is such a badass. Like when they're told to stay behind, he gives Rand a hard look. Like he's looking at the Dragon Reborn and he's looking at him like, you touch anything on her and you're a dead man. And then he goes to lounging against the wall, looking at the door, and then the phrasing is lounging as if a tripwire could be said to be lounging. Good old Thomas. That's it from me.
Well, I like this chapter. That finally, the bonding happened. We've known it's coming for some time.
Yeah.
It surprised me still. Knowing it's coming, I'm still 100% surprised.
Isn't it great to still be surprised?
Yes, thanks, shitty memory.
Yes. Okay, then, let's take on our last chapter for the episode, which is chapter 11, called Lessons and Teachers. Teach us about that chapter, Willem.
All right. We've got lessons.
And teachers.
And we have teachers. Rand
Dramatic
and
pause.
Varen are facing each other off. It's pretty tense, and Rand had fled. With Rand gone, Varen can now finally exhale and relax, and you realize how much they were actually shitting themselves inside. And with that face off, it's been 1 year since Varen last saw him. And in that time, a lot has happened. She ran down through, like, Siuan has been stilled and deposed. Moraine is dead. All the girls, of course, in the inn, they're peeking real hard. They are in snorting trana on the floor, crying and sobbing, and Matt's got to be saved away from the dragon's influence. And this is like just the worst news that possibly could have happened. Varen instructs the innkeeper to get his ladies out from under the benches as well, and make the girls some tea, warm tea with honey and brandy. A fuck ton of brandy. Just drug them and put them to bed. So,
like a good parent would.
This Alana and Varen, they obviously don't know boundaries. Like, we've touched on the consent thing, just bonding a man without his permission. Now we are feeding alcohol to youths, young girls, and sending them to bed. It's all just a little.
Hey, we're also from a small town. We're also drinking brandy at 16, so not a surprise. Understandable.
Alana at this stage then also raises a voice for them all to calm down and plays a little trick of the imagination on them. Threatens them down to the point of getting to their room. If she's hits 5, you'll be remember this day till the end of your life, type of thing. Anyway, she doesn't eat 2, and all the girls are scampering upstairs because some of these girls are actually women already. They've got braided hair. They should know better than to go into a panic and a whimpering state like that. They're novices now, after all. That's where they're heading. Alana and Varen has a bit of a confrontation then at this point in time. Varen's like actually asking the question straight out, like, what the hell were you thinking? Bonding him like that. Like, geez, this is just wrong on every level. But Alana, just straight off the bat, it's like it's the logical thing to do. Like, he was right in front of me there. We need to have a track on him. So I just did it. And then obviously trails off to admitting to how strong Rand is. Like, Rand is stupid strong in the power. They don't know how they're going to handle this one. Like, there's nothing much they can do. Like, there's no Aes Sedai Rand. And I think all Aes Sedai will learn that quite quickly. There's no controlling him with my title and that I can weave the power, because he's the real Dragon Reborn. We then very much quickly hop over to Rand's perspective, and he's just keen to get away. He is riding his horse, satin chairs go flying, wares go flying, the maidens can't even keep up. He just wants to get away from being pulled by Alana, and then on the other side being pulled by Avienda. And now he's got a woman in his head next to a madman that's in his head cackling away. That's just it's chaos. So he wants to travel, but he needs to get into the palace so that he can be from a very familiar place. So he can travel, and he goes to the farm, and he has a little meltdown in the scrub. He leaves everyone behind and has a little holding his knees, cradling himself moment. And in the background of his head, Luz going cackling away. Yeah, Rand is losing it. He loses it for a little while and gets up and composes himself and has a look to see what's happening. And Taim has been really hard at work training these men. There's a lot less of them than there were. The ones and the majority of the wives have been left as soon as their husbands were tested and not found to be able to be trained. Those left, and the wives of the husbands that stayed behind left with them. They're not there anymore. But Rand comes in as Dalma Flynn explodes a rock with a weave of fire and earth. And then all the shatter starts hitting, and then Time going off at them that you must always, the minute you do the explosion, you must weave a shield to protect you, pretty much like he did there. And Rand then starts asking, or he sort of approaches the situation there and asks about what's happening with like physical training. Like, where's Haslan? He's supposed to be, not drinking till the evening and staying sober and also teaching these men the sword. And Time's perspective is like, why do you need the sword? Like, he's like, well, what happens if you can't channel? Like, you need to still be able to defend yourself. Like, send for that fool that you send away for what it doesn't matter what he done. Go get him because these men needs to be trained. Time gives him a bit of an update on all the training. They've been doing everything with the power. Like, you don't eat warm food unless you heat it with the power. So it's like 100% opposite of what the one tower does. Like, you got to go and scrub pots with your bare hands, and you got to go and iron and washing, and over there it's just like power, power, power. Do it all with the power. And he said if he gives him 6 years, he'll match the one tower. But Rand doesn't have 6 years. Now, Time wants to also expand by going recruiting. And Rand's like, what, you're just going to roll up in an inn saying, oh, I'm looking for men that can channel. You join my menagerie.
Men that can channel like me.
Yeah. Anyway, he has his excuses on how he's going to do it with gateways and get there, and he needs good horses. And if he lets him out there, he's going to find a hell of a lot more men than just waiting for them to rock up here. So Rand eventually does agree to it and says to him he'll give him the resources that he needs to go and do this. And as they're having this discussion, more explosions keep going on in the background of rocks being blown up, and the chickens are calm about it. So he's assuming that this has been they're going to run out of rocks soon to blow up. And that's pretty much that very, very short chapter.
Yeah. So Varen does say to Alana, what the hell were you thinking?
That still doesn't mean she didn't just suspect that she would do it. Or maybe it was just her Aes Sedai serenity, because she does mention in this chapter as well, like it's impolite to counter another Aes Sedai's decisions in front of other people. So maybe she just shut her mouth while Rand was in the room, but she did actually want to ask, hey, what the fuck? Why'd you do that?
Yeah. I don't think it was a plan that the two of them had agreed on was a good plan.
No. I don't think that either. I mean, I said, like, was she in on it? Like, was she aware that this might happen?
I mean, she's aware of Alana's instability at the moment. She comments on it repeatedly.
Very much. Like, it took her, because she had lost the water as well, Varen. So yes. She knows and she understands the whole process, and like she can see when she's been crying, and even when she says to Alana, like, I need to talk, or we need to talk, like the equivalent of like a Aes Sedai, like, you're in shit. What does she say? I wrote it somewhere. We must talk, just like straight off the bat. The minute it it happens is, or when they walk into, Ilana leads her to a private dining room, and Ilana just off the bat starts explaining and becomes quite emotional and trying to almost to divert the attention to Rand. Like, this is like, she starts very quickly to, like, he's so powerful, he's like diverts all the attention to Rand, but Varen is kind of like, the fuck you think you're doing? Like,
Yeah.
I get it. You
It's also like, given half a chance, she would have bonded Perrin, Matt. She would have bonded them all. Like, we can't leave these guys. And she's not wrong. Like,
You
it'd
can
be a
kind
good
of see
idea.
her point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, we could.
Varen is thinking, the Rand looks a bit perturbed. I wonder if he's struggling with insanity. Yep.
You have no idea.
no idea.
Just right after that, he ends up in a field under a tree, just
Crying.
cackling wildly and crying, fighting with a guy inside his head.
Nothing gets past Varen, hey?
No.
Her plan
She
of
also
70
mentioned
years.
70...
Oh,
Yeah, exactly. 70
yeah.
years of delicate planning. Like, what planning is she talking about?
My question. I want answers, Moritz, not more questions.
I thought maybe like her Black Archer hunt.
Must be. I mean, she couldn't have known 50 years in advance that the Dragon Reborn was going to be born.
No.
So she was planning something else for 70
Yes.
years.
Yeah. Just good old Two Rivers producing so many channelers. That's our
Yeah.
home team. Yeah, go guys.
I want to expand on that. It's the idea and the thought's always been that because the raids are stilling or severing or gentling all the men, that selectively, so you'll find there's less and less channelers in these areas that's prone to have Aes Sedai in, which tells me two things. The Two Rivers, or that area, has not been visited by Aes Sedai for a very long time. Obviously, we know that. But also that there are men in those towns that must have the ability in them, that they have sons and so forth, that have got the ability to channel, and daughters. I mean, it's not a thing that's handed from a woman to a woman to a woman to a woman. There's men and women involved in this. So if there's
I wonder
so
how
many,
many-
there must be men there that can channel. So if Rand's
Do they
looking
join
to
the
We
Black
find
Tower?
out later.
I don't know.
Yeah, another question.
Fuck, we are so in sync today.
Yeah. Doesn't help, though. Being in sync, no answers.
No,
are
it
coming.
doesn't. Yeah, we just have the same gaps in knowledge. But immediately after this, Varen gives a cool reminder when talking about the fact that he's going to find men that can channel, because Rand is a powerful Ta'veren, and that he
we lost Joe.
not only causes freak accidents, but draws what he needs to him, being male channelers. Maybe Rand, and even to a lesser extent, Matt and Perrin's presence in the Two Rivers is causing more channelers to be born there, because is channeling always a hereditary trait, or can the child of two non-channelers be a channeler? Like Bode, right? Neither of her parents can channel.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
somewhere down the
it's-
line,
that
maybe
we know
her
of.
grandmother could channel, or, her great-grandmother or something.
maybe it's a recessive gene.
But maybe because it's Rand's generation, so many are like
Yeah.
manifesting suddenly in specifically that area.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's got to be
Like
something
that-
to do with
that
him
is
being
a-
in that area as well.
That is a
not
very
just
good
the amount of-
explanation. That makes a lot of sense. Like him,
Ta'veren.
Matt, and Perrin being such strong Ta'veren already pulled that. Like, hey, maybe they mutated the people around them to channel.
They're all mutants.
I mean, yeah, they all have midichlorians.
No. Don't talk about the midichlorians.
Jody's look of disgust.
That's all
but
lost
yeah,
to
I
me.
mean-
I don't know what that is.
It was my very next note that Varen says that Rand is a powerful Ta'veren, and that he not only causes freak accidents, but he draws what he needs to him. So the pattern is providing to him all the things that he needs, including lots of channelers around him. Which is,
I need the Dark One dead. Come on, Patton.
Come on, Patton, up your game. Another thing is, immediately after Rand storms off and stuff, this is it. this is the moment that his trust in the Aes Sedai is finally shattered. This is a huge event.
Yeah.
Because the way that Rand treats the Aes Sedai from here on out, I mean, Moiraine had done all this work, like, I mean, for all her faults and how badly she went at, like, you know, getting his trust. Eventually, even if it was the day that she died, she managed to gain it. You know, Rand comments on it in a previous chapter. All of that undone. Fuck all the Aes Sedai. I'm never trusting them again. Rand says it
Moiraine
out
also
loud.
pretty much told him not to. She said, trust no one, especially
Varen.
Especially Varen. Like, you went in there into a room on your own with Varen, the woman Aes Sedai that I said you should least of all trust. You went into that room and look at where that ended up.
Yeah. I mean, and that just shows you that, like, he had heard what Moiraine said, but not necessarily taken it to heart. But because of Alana's actions here, that is now, he won't make that mistake again. So, massive repercussions to this spontaneous sort of shooting from the hip action from Alana.
I mean, this is the book where the line, kneel or you will be knelt, comes from. Like, I'm done with you fucking people.
Well, it's Taim that says it.
Is it?
I think so.
Mart says something with confidence again, people.
Let's
doubting
put the
myself.
$20 back on the line, Joe. Let's see at the end of this book. Is it Rand or Taim? I mean, Rand does use some pretty strong language with Aes Sedai, though.
No, man, it's
Yes,
old.
well, anyway, his attitude is echoed by Taim.
Yes.
I suppose he had it first, though.
When Rand is talking to Taim about, like, needing to use a sword when he can't channel, Taim's response is like, well, I escaped and here I am. And then Rand goes, your followers freed you, or else you'd be in Tarvalon, gentle like Logain. These men don't have followers. Find Haslin.
Yes.
Shut up. Don't come to me with that. Find him. Do what I say.
I said, go find the guy and teach them the sword.
Now,
Don't
interesting
need your
note.
reasons. Yeah.
If Taim, in RJ's mind, at this point, was Demandred, he'd literally be the best swordsman in the world.
There is a line here.
The so-called Aiel.
Exactly that line. Yes, I was just trying to figure out when it was said, but yeah, all these
Yeah,
so-called
we've mentioned it
Aiel.
before, but it's here. But I mean, he also, like, this actually blows a hole in the Taim as Demandred theory, is because when Rand opens a gateway in front of him the first time, he seems genuinely surprised by it.
He's surprised Rand knows.
Surprised
Like,
that
oh, shit,
Rand's
this guy's
guess
far
that
more
fits.
advanced.
Maybe, yeah, that could be it. Okay, he's still Demandred.
He will be until Demandred pops out of the last battle. Hey guys, I was not anywhere where you thought I was. No spoilers.
Or actually,
Oh, you
like
already
the
read
next book,
River of
right?
Souls. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?
No.
No?
Dude, I suppose
No,
if we
I
faffed
think
around, we could find something, but yeah.
Yeah.
Done for now.
All right, well, speaking of faffing around then, Jody, have you faffed around to this evening's content to find your favorite moment?
I have indeed.
Ah. What is
Should
it?
I say it?
Yes, yes, do.
Before everyone else. My favorite moment is going back into the little room to get Varen and Alana's point of view, and Varen lets her breath out.
Okay.
Oh my fucking god.
Yeah.
Because like I said in my chapter, like they're standing there just staring at him with these serene faces, staring him in the eye, Dragon Reborn, shielded by him, and they seem unfluttered. The second he leaves the room, they shit themselves.
Yeah.
He's like, oh
It's
my
actually
God, he's so
reminiscent of
strong.
that scene. It's reminiscent of that scene in The Great Hunt when he leaves Swan's audience, right? Like Varen and Moraine and Swan are there together, and when Rand goes to meet them, and when he leaves, they're also like, holy shit, what's
Yes.
coming?
I like that. Varen
That
being
is
so
cool.
clued up and knowledgeable, and she already knows him and everything. But she was shitting herself.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he shielded both of them without flinching.
At the
hardly
same time,
trying.
she's like, wow, he did 2 weaves at the same time. It's like, yeah, that's nothing for him. You should see him with 10 weaves at the same time.
How about you, Vil?
I've okay. Need some background. I don't like open-ended things. Like, I'm one of those kids that watch the movie, and when the movie's over, you're like, but do those people know that that happened now? Is that resolved? Is those loops closed? So Rand walking into the inn and seeing all of his Two River and Bode, and it's like a little homecoming. That's a feel good moment. And the villain inside me thinks like he's going to find out about Perrin and what happened and the battle, and he does. That's a favorite moment for me, that all those little loops get closed, and then it turns into a terrifying moment where he scares the living shit out of all of these people from his hometown and goes full crazy and
Yeah.
shouting. So it's a lot is done and said in that little room, and a lot happens in that little room that is not easily passed by me.
So what's your favorite moment? Everything that happens in the inn.
Right.
Basically, but more so that all the loops are closed. Like, he finds out about Perrin. He finds out that Perrin is married. He finds out that it's not just Perrin, it's now Lord Perrin. It's now Lord Matt. Like this, all of this things is like being closed off. Like okay, cool. He's married. He's saved the Two Rivers. Like, he literally did the same.
Oh yeah, he's
the
married.
Two There's a lot of things that Rand finds out all of a sudden about Perrin, who's been absent in the books for a very long time.
Yeah. Well, Phil, it's your turn to share a favorite moment with me. I mean, it's kind of the obvious feel-good one, right? Is like seeing Bode and the Two Rivers girls. But that also caught me completely by surprise. Like, when I read it, I was like, oh, yes, great. Two Rivers people, Eamon's Fielders, Bode, Matt's sister, like, and then they actually have a genuine, like, they don't know he's the Dragon Reborn, so they have this full-on, like, long chat and everything, and it feels, I guess, like a little bit of an oasis in the pressure and the madness that is Rand's life, right? Like, he's battling literal insanity. He's got so many plates in there. He's poised for war with Samael. Like, there is a lot going on, and he gets to sit in this inn in the common room and just talk to all these people from back home and find out all these things. And, like, I'm sure he's happy for Perrin, and, just finding out that, like, the Two Rivers is, I mean, it's blossoming, right? Like, it is growing, and it is it's going really well there. So that must have been a real moment of satisfaction for him. But yeah, I share that favorite moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like, and like I said, I love closure. I just love when a story goes around and that person finds out that, okay, cool, it's all fixed. Home is protected. Home has got a lord.
Yeah.
Who just left. He's not there anymore.
Yeah,
he's just left, yeah.
It's in a better state than he found it in.
Oh, considerably so. My honorable mention was when Rand sets Taim straight about the sword practice. Like, yes, you didn't escape because you were able to channel and didn't need sword. You had people that came and freed you. You'd be gentled like Logain if it wasn't for your followers. These guys don't have followers. Find Haslin. I love it every time Rand puts Taim in his place.
Yeah.
Isn't there a thing about, like, when Rand shows up at the farm and Dharma Flynn is exploding those rocks, like those shards could have hit Rand, like Rand thinks, I could have been killed by one of those things. And then later when it happens again, Taim tries to weave a shield around himself and Rand weaves his own shield and, like, pushes Taim's out of the way.
Pushes
like,
his shield off, like,
yeah.
Just shield off me.
The fuck off me.
Ugh, gross, don't touch me with your shield.
We can't touch shields.
They crushed shields.
They did. So, to all of our wonderful listeners, send in your favorite moments. I'm still waiting to hear how everyone imagined the formation of gateways when traveling. I've heard precious.
No one cares, Moritz.
I care.
Just us.
I care, and I need closure. A couple of people on Twitter sort of, like, responded with gasps and stuff, but no one really went into what they'd always imagined. So for the time being, I'm just going to imagine that I was right. You can send in your thoughts and your theories and your explanations of how gateways are formed to any of the social media links in the episode description below. You can find links to our website where you can leave a voicemail or send us messages. You can find access to the merch store, and you can find a link to our Discord server. So join us there. In the meantime, in preparation for next time on Blood and Ashes, we will be reading chapter 12 called Questions and Answers, all the way through to the end of chapter 15, A Pile of Sand. So another 4-chapter stretch.
Ooh.
Easy peasy.
4 confirmed.
The math checks out. Phew.
Math checks out.
Okay.
I didn't get a Google spreadsheet going, but it's fine.
I have one. It's good. And we have manually typed in all the page numbers that each chapter starts on so that I can make sure that the page allocation is somewhat fair.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But enough of that dreary accounting bullshit. Can't wait to see you guys next time. But until then, sleep well and wake.
Ooh.
Toodaloo.